Yes, guys, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with the end of season roundup fan show where you guys can come on and have your say, but also never a dull day at Tottenham because Tottenham have re-signed Timo Werner here. As for Fabrizio Romano, Tottenham are set to announce the first signing of the summer. Timo Werner signing on a new loan deal, loan valid until 2025, buy option for 15-16 million. And then Spurs to cover the whole 185k a week salary of Timo Werner's. Now, I understand it's splitting a lot of hairs across all social medias, etc. One thing we're big advocates here is everyone is entitled to their opinion, whether we agree with it or not. You know, if we disagree or whatever, we'll push back and all. But please be respectful of everyone, and that's all we ask. But who knew Werner would be committing murder again, Jack? You know, as goes the song, Werner on the dance floor, murder on the dance floor. But look, you're not going to hear from myself and Jack on this, because if you do, you're gonna have to watch the video that we made just before we came on for you guys to go and listen to it. But whatever anyone else comes on and say, I must stress their views are their own. They don't represent mine and Jack's and stuff like that. So, look, big controversy, but also we'll be talking about maybe who's your player of the season, maybe signing of the season, things like that, Jacka.
Yeah, this is what I had, Dave, and maybe you could let me know if I'm missing something. So, of course, Timo Werner on loan for another season. Good or bad move? Let us know, people. I think people always are sick of hearing Dave or I, so that's why we have these fan shows, so we can listen to other people give their opinions on it. The other one, and this one brings a tear to my eye, Dave, Emerson Royale's agents have been speaking with AC Milan. And do you want him to stay or go this summer? Is that a good move for Spurs? Let us know. Are you going to be happy to see Emerson go? Let us know. Player of the season, because this is going to be a season wrap-up show. It's not supposed to be the Timo Werner show. We could make it if you would like it to be. It is your time, all of you lovely members, but we do have plenty of other things that we could talk about. Surprise of the season, I thought that was one that maybe we don't always talk about. It's kind of different from player of the season, right? Who maybe surprised you? Who was a narrative that sprung up that maybe you didn't expect, that sort of thing. Flop of the season, it doesn't have to be a new signing or anything like that. Maybe just someone who came in with high expectations, who maybe we just know can play better and just didn't. And then another one would be best win or your favorite game from this season, one of your favorite moments from this season that just passed. Priorities for this upcoming summer, which positions should we be strengthening, certain departures that you would like to see happen, that sort of thing. And then lastly, anybody that you might have, if you saw Dave and I's last two videos, our player rankings, our keep, loan, sell, if you happen to have watched that, is there anybody that you might have disagreed with, on our player ratings or our keep, loan, sell? Because I saw a lot of agreement and I saw a lot of disagreement, as there should be with that kind of thing. So if you actually watched that, if you had anything that maybe you wanted to bring up in that department, or even if you didn't watch it, you just have, certain players that you would like to talk about that you felt like had good or bad seasons, let us know. Season wrap up, Timo Werner, Emerson Royale leaving. That sadly probably won't be a big dominant part of the show, but if you want to talk on that, you certainly can. Dave, am I missing anything?
No, I think you've pretty much covered it all. Also, just quickly before we get into welcome people in the chat and stuff like that, we will be doing the Europa Conference League final watch along on TIFO tomorrow. We'd appreciate it if a lot of you could get over there and enjoy that final with us like we did for the FA Cup. Also, to wrap up the end of the season content, tomorrow we'll be reacting to our season predictions. So I get ready to cane myself and Jack on some of them because I've already had a look. Some were on the money, some were quite wide of the mark. And then also on Thursday, we'll be having Sean and Ben from We Are Tottenham TV on for a big end of season sort of debate show as well. And that wrap up all the end of season content before we move into the transfer content. But anything else you want to see us do, please suggest, please put it forward. We like to take on, what you guys want to see. So do let us know in that regards. But look, let's start welcoming some people in. We've got Steady Sharks is very happy about it. His game is good for the most part, and we desperately need solid depth. Can't keep obsessing over our first 11, and he's not stopping. He's not a purchase, basically. Look, some people that would agree with you on that, some that won't. Yeah. Paul Connor says, big up, fellas. I just to see players that put it all out there for the shirt. At least it's only a loan. He has a year to prove everyone wrong. I hope he does. Worst case, he doesn't, and we send him back. But 150k a week, he better perform, that's for sure, and want to see a major improvement on last season's effort. Will we though, Paul? Will we see an improvement? Are we hoping for something that's just not there? Joe Smart says Timo with Kane Would have been a great combo, great partnership. A regular gamer, good to see you. Says, don't mind. Is there anyone better available who wants to come and we can afford? It's some form of stability. We have more pressing targets to get backup, left back, keeper, playmaker, a proper CDM, etc. Look, I do hear that argument, but in terms of what we can afford, I mean, it's the summer transfer window. There's teams that have to sell by the 30th of June, so because of financial fair play reasons and stuff like that, this is what we were building up for with raking in all the finances and everything. We should be in this window flexing our muscles, not sitting here just looking to scrape by. So I disagree on the can we afford them part. I mean, I think that, we can afford players to come in here. But I do understand the point. Look, he's brought in as a squad player, etc. But look, you want to hear more of my opinion on it, make sure you watch the video, regular gamer. Make sure you tell me exactly what you disagree with me, or we can take a different approach. You can try and make me become a believer. Tell me what I'm missing, a regular gamer. We've got Terry Rice says, big up, gents, and all in the chat. Good to see you. We've got Dan Coy's in the building, member for 27 months. Really appreciate the support. Absolute standing ovation for my man, Dan. He says,
absolute legend.
Any watch-alongs for the Euros? Come on, you Harris.
Yes, sir.
Every watch-along that we do that is non-Tottenham at this moment in time, over on TIFO. So you guys need to get on that, create an account. It's free, and then it'll notify you when we're about to go live with our watch-alongs. We'll be doing Europa League final, Europa Conference final, Champions League final, and Euros all over there. And then we're going to keep the YouTube for the Tottenham-related content and stuff like that. So, guys, please make sure if you do want to be a part of them watch-alongs, because it's great over there. We have good times. It's a lot more laid back. It's easier to set up, which means me and Jack are more chilled and stuff like that. So make sure you get over there and check that out, Danny boy. Big yourself up.
Absolute legend. Thanks for the service, Dan. And like I said, with plenty of people like yourself who do, in fact, go to the games, thanks for even, paying attention to us, for even, dropping in the comments, dropping in the support as you do, even on your way to the games. Big up, Dan. Appreciate you.
Big up, Dan. Really appreciate the support, my man. We've got MKP0138. Feel okay about Timo on loan. We will need depth with Europa League. Tyler says, big up, Jack and Dave. Good to see you, Big T. King Hodler says, in an ideal world, my window is as follows. Number 6, Ederson, a playmaker, Eze, plus a tricky, proactive winger, and the top number 9. Then it's backup only, left-sided centre-back, no. Number 2, goalkeeper, and a right back. Look, on the right back, we'll probably get into it at some point, but I think we're just creating an issue. I think Emerson will be okay for one more season and address other areas and spend money in other areas first, rather than creating more issues. Tony says, I second that. I can't believe we didn't sign Scott last summer. We also have Shem Tam says, hey, Jack and Dave, hope you're both well today. Tomorrow is coming back. Tomorrow is coming back for more. Does that mean we're winning the league? So I think he's basically saying Timo's coming back for more. Look, don't get me started on it. I'm not happy with it, but you can hear my real thoughts on it when we get that other video uploaded for you guys. Beyond72 says, happy Werner Day, lads. Yeah, let's get the party hats on and let's get out the them poppers and everything else, madness.
Timo poppers.
Listen, Bell, good to see you in the house. Hopefully you're keeping well. MV Joker Davies, what a start to the off-season. More transfers to follow. Ange wants his signing done first. This is the first of many. And that's one thing I will say. Regardless whether people agree with the Werner one or they don't, it's only the start of the window. To start judging the window right now is absolutely madness. We've still got June, July, and August to go. So, judging it off this one signing, whether people agree with it or not, is madness. There's still a lot of time to bring in a lot more signings, is what I would say. But good point, MV Joker. We've got TC Barton, no hope for window. Andrew's done. Too early on that one, I would suggest. Carl Higgins says, go. Good to see you, Carl. We've got Chris D. Nothing wrong with Werner as a squad player. Would be more effective simply because he does a preseason. That's a fair point. Shawnee Malik says, Huddle, I'd be concerned that we would get caught betting again. Those problems tend to be repeating. Just ask Joey Barton. I think he's on about Ivan Toney. Fair point. Son Aldino 7 says, did we actually renew Werner's contract for another year? Yeah, we've loaned it. You're not reading anything false. Yeah. Georgie Hill says, big up, lads. Thanks for another great season together. Really appreciate that, my man. And thanks you as well. I want to see a winger, striker, and a number 6 come in that can start right away. Just want the board to back big the big Aussie. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Harris Army. Come on, you Flat Cap Army. Look, I think we all do. We all do.
Pick up
Some would
George.
say bringing in Werner isn't backing him. Paddy Harnett, good to see you as always. Hopefully you're keeping well. Jay Mead says, good evening, Dave, lad, and Jacko. Great show earlier today, Dave, on Sean's channel. I have to say, your view on most issues is spot on. Smash the likes. Well, I really appreciate that. You know, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that think I talk absolute manure.
Yeah, don't tell us that too often.
I'd like to think the longer I'm at this job, the more sort of balanced I'm being taken into account both sides of the argument rather than just giving my own point of view. And then I give my own point of view off the back of it. That's what I would like to think, Jay. But like I said, a lot of people think I talk crap. Pesh Patel says it's a big sport screen till we sign Timo. Good evening. Good to see you in the building. Hopefully you're keeping well. Make sure we're not missing anyone. Leslie Crawford says sign Werner. Will be fine as a backup to Sonny at left wing and we'll leave more in the budget for a striker. Who else are we missing here? We've got International Observer. We are so unambitious, we might as well get relegated and concentrate on being financially prudent. Villa have come from the Championship and overtaken us in the EPL. I think there's a lot of people that feel like you right now at this moment in time, International Observer, for sure. I would argue maybe they could have held the Werner one back and kicked off the signing the summer with, you know, a better name for people to get behind, and then maybe they wouldn't be as outraged by the Werner deal. But I think the reason why the Werner one is happening first, because it's the easiest one to do. So, good evening, Jose Swell from El Cockerel. Good to see you, my man. We've got this from Adrian Brown. He says, big up, all. Looking forward to the Euros. I don't think we got many going on international leave. I think we only got Madison going in the England squad as a sub. No need to worry about Kane this time. Yeah, that's one thing I won't miss. You know, sitting there, you know, fearful that Harry Kane would pick up an injury or a long-term injury over the international scene. I won't miss that. Big up Marcus Swell from the Mark Army. Good to see you.
Come
and
on,
MV Joker Davey says, wait, have it.
Has it been a month?
Has it been a month? God damn it. Come on, you Spurs. Look, this is what I'm saying. Look, we're a very reactionary fan base, and I get it. You know, we're football mad. Any bit of news we lap up and we go strong on it. I get it. I completely get it. But, you know, to sit there and write the window off right now, I think is absolutely madness. You know, you got to give it time, see more signings coming in and see more of the plan before you can really give it a good judge, Jack.
No, and I agree with you there, Dave. Thanks for being part of the family. I think that's what he actually means, Dave. Thanks for being part of the family. Thanks for being part of the membership for a month so far, MV Joker Davis. And also, you've been keeping me company as well as Dave on the TIFO watch-alongs coming on at halftime. So I have appreciated that. And if I do remember, MV Joker Davis might have been somebody who said, I don't want anybody to kill me in the chat or anything like that when he came on at halftime. I think for the Newcastle watch along, he mentioned that Timo Werner, he would not be totally against, actually. I think he's maybe one of the rare Timo lovers. Maybe Timo lover might be a bit strong, MV Joker Davis, but it did seem like you were, you know, wouldn't be against it and kind of excited for it. So I wonder how he's feeling. He actually might be enjoying the Timo Werner celebrations going on right now. So thanks for your support. Thanks for joining the family.
He's one of them on Twitter trying to calm people like me down, I would say. Big up MV Joker Davies. But look, let's get it going. Let's start bringing on the guests. Let's hear what they have to say. Just quickly, if you could do the niceties, smash that like button. You know, if you want to change the conversation or, you know, push someone a lot further, why not make it, you know, a super chat? Or if you want to come on and have your say, you know, because we do get a lot of members, why not grab a membership and become one of the family and, you know, make it a regular thing on a Monday evening. Come and chat to us and you know, get all the Tottenham stress out of your system. But look, we'll probably start with one of the most controversial guys we could probably bring on right now, depending on where he sits. Let's bring him on. It is Dermo from THFC Till I Die. Let's hear what he has to say. Dermatron, good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you both? What a great end to the season. And happy Timo Day. Look, it is what it is.
Look, where do we start with the Timo Werner one? It's the big one. It's one everyone wants to hear. Where do you stand on the Timo Werner deal? A good piece of business by Tottenham, unambitious piece of business by Tottenham. What's your thoughts?
Same shit, different day. That's about it, really, on that. I don't really have any opinion on it.
Well, how do you think Werner got on then when he over the course of the 6 months that you seen him? You'd have an opinion on that.
Yeah, look, he hasn't set the world alight. Let's put it that way. He hasn't set, but look, he's a squad player, and we're in a lot of competitions next season, so it makes sense to get a squad player in. Look, I understand everyone wants big signings before the window starts. I get that, but with the Euros coming up, a lot of players are with their international side, so it's very difficult to get the big signings done before the European Championships or the Copa America as well starts as well in the summer.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of players away with international teams. You probably won't see big transfers done probably after the Euros. But
I'd
I
agree.
do know every club is trying to get business done early, but it's very, very difficult.
I agree with that,
At the
Dermot. Very
moment.
sensible of you to point that out,
Mm,
actually. Whether it's, something we want to accept or not,
mm,
there is the reality to it. There are players, big name players, they're heading into some major international
mm,
tournaments right now. They have that on their minds, usually more than they even do a new club or a new
mm.
destination of theirs. It's usually the big tournaments that they are thinking about. They also only have so much time to even enjoy a vacation. So some of
Yeah.
them are actually even on vacation right now. So the moves of, kind of deals with agents, that sort of thing
Mm.
can take a while. So I'd agree with you that the players that you signed in this period are guys that aren't playing in international
Mm.
tournaments, don't have a busy summer ahead of them or anything like that, which does, make the pool a
Yeah.
whole lot smaller.
And also, it was an easy deal to do. It was just talk to the agent, talk to the club. Probably deal's been in agreement during the season anyway for the end of the season. Let's get it out and done with and move on. So I think there's more to come, but I think this was, as Dave said, this was the easiest to get out first. But look, so go ahead.
I was going to say, Dermo, despite it being the easiest deal to do, does it improve us? Does it give us, any inspiration heading into next season off the back of the deal? I know some people would say bring him in as a squad player, but surely we've learned lessons in seasons gone by. It's not squad players we need to be signing. We need to be signing players that sort of, come in here and are looking to make an impact almost better than the guys you've got in that position. And then you make them become the sort of squad players rather than bringing in a guy that most people know is probably going to be a bench warmer next season, even the guys that are hunting down his spot.
Yeah, you could say that, and that is probably a logical avenue to go down to as well. But you've got to think how many competitions you're in. You're going to need players for different competitions. You're going to need players for the League Cup. You need players for the FA Cup. You need players for the Europa League. You're going to need players for the Championships, for the Premier League. So every player is going to have his spot for next season. So it doesn't matter. It's about filling out the squad with capable players that Ange can trust that will do a job for him. You don't have to be the best player in the world or world-class player. If you can go out and you're competent in what you're doing, and if Werner gets a run of good games, he can prove to be a great signing. In other competitions for us, same as Johnson, the same as Richarlison if he stays. But so it's all about getting players that are competent to do what their job they do, that Ange will trust to do the job he wants them to do. And we have to see how it goes. I get what your point. I do get your point, Dave. But I think to bring in big players to replace big players, not a lot of big players are going to want to be squad players. They're going to want to be starting every week. So I think you've got to have a mixture of 50-50 and then take it from there. But I do partly agree in what you say. It is logical what you're saying. But I think you've got to look at the other side of the coin, the League Cup, the FA Cup, the early stages of the Europa League. And I think if we get easy ties in them, a Werner will play well in them, or a Johnson will play well in them. You wouldn't put him up against, say, an AC Milan or a team like that because he won't do very well. That's when you want your big name players coming in for them games. So that's my view in it. So I think it's not underwhelming. I just think it's a good start. It's a start, and that's what we want to see. And as I said, once the Euros is over, then the bigger transfers will happen because players will want to move then. I know it might cost a bit more money, but, and Maddison went straight from Australia to the England squad, so he hasn't got a break yet. So, we'll have to see what happens, but yeah, it is what it is.
And Tron, on the topic of kind of, transfers, because we did have this as a question, what are your big priorities this summer for positions we should be strengthening and also kind of departures that you would like to see happen?
I look, for me, I think we need a number 6 desperately. We need a striker so badly. And we need a cam and probably a backup centre-back or backup left wing back or right wing back. Who I want to see go. I'm sad that Højbjerg and Emerson could be the ones going. And I'm sad they're going because I've always liked them two players. But I think we need to get someone out of the deadwood. Ben Davies is another one. Out that have been there for a long time, that they're not there. The players have not been there under Mourinho or under Nuno or under Conte. We need to get rid of them players. And that players there, they've just been under Ange. And I think then there'll be a change in the dressing room, dynamic change in the dressing room because everyone would only know Ange, not Conte or Mourinho. So I think you need to sweep them players out. Anyone that's played there longer than, say, Mourinho, Conte type time players. So that's what I'd like to see go. But will it happen? Who knows?
Well, look, let's wait and see. First of all, you have to have buyers for some of these players, so let's wait and see on that. But look, Dermo, sort of the season as a whole. What do you make of the season that we've just had? Are you happy with the season we've had? Do you see progression? And also maybe give us your player of the season along with that as well.
Look, my player of the season, I'll start with that, has actually been Van der Ven. I think he's been outstanding. I mean, Romero's just behind him. You could say Porro as well, but I have to say Van der Ven, for me, he's been exceptional. The best defender in the Premier League by far. The season as a whole, look, I think it's been a good season. I'll give it a good 8 out of 10. I really would, because it's progression from last season under Conte. Ange's come in with a positive attitude that is changing the culture of the club. We had a great start to the season, 10 games unbeaten. All right, we went a bit funny in the middle. And we all knew there'd be pitfalls. We all knew there'd be ups and downs. So for a first season, and you compare it to Poch's first full season, Ange's actually done technically slightly better. Poch did get to a League Cup final, but if you look at league form for the Premier League, Ange's done better than Poch. And look what Poch achieved. Look what he achieved when he got a run of it. So there's no reason why Ange can't do the same. And for me, I'll give it out of 10. I've really enjoyed the season. I'm sad it's over, but the summer is coming, and I can't wait for next season. Give me some more Ange ball, because I'm going to really miss it this summer.
Some people would say, Dermo, stop happy clapping. We've slided off towards the end of the season, from where we were at the start of the season, that they don't see progression. In fact, they'd argue they see regression. What would you say to that?
Well, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Everyone sees football differently. Nobody sits and watches a football match and sees it the same way you see it. So happy clapping, not happy clapping. We're all Tottenham fans at the end of the day. So we all love the club. We all want best for the club, but we all see it differently. And that's the beauty of football, or soccer, as they call it in America, and soccer, as they call it over here. But that's the beauty of the game. That is why we love the game, because it brings out opinions in people. And it brings out different opinions. It brings out different loyalties, passion. You may love the manager. You may hate the manager. You may hate the player, love the player. But we wouldn't have it any other way. And this is why we love the game so much. And, that's why I love it. But, yeah, look, if somebody sees it differently, that's down to them. That's just my opinion. And I agree to it. And I will stand by it. And I'll stand over it.
Well, here's another one for people. Here's another one for people to tear you apart with, Dermatron. Who is your flop of the season? We're going to have to ask you to not happy clap here. We're going to have to ask you to be a little negative. Who's your flop?
I would have to go for... I'm stuck, but I'm going to have to go for Bissouma. After the Luton game, he's been poor. He hasn't been consistent like he was in the first 10 games. For me, he's been poor. So he's my flop of the season. So I can't look. Johnson's all right. He's let me down a few times, but for me, Bissouma
protecting your boy Johnson and making Dave angry. That's a good way to go about it. You can tell Dave's squirming in his chair. What was your favorite
paper bag out and start breathing into it now in a minute?
And what was your favorite moment of the season? Your favorite win? Your favorite game? What was your favorite moment of the season?
I think it was a 2-2 draw away at Arsenal. When they scored and we went up the other end and got the equaliser with Sonny. Sorry. That's my favourite game. That was my favourite part, because I was on the watch-along with an Arsenal watch-along at the time, and I went epping mental. That for me is the best part. Anything against Arsenal, winning or drawing against them, I'm happy. So, yeah, the 2-2 away at the Emirates, for me, was my game of the season.
But Dermo, I thought you didn't care about what Arsenal done.
I don't care about Arsenal.
That's what you were saying after the City game.
Yeah, I don't look. That City game, I stand by it. I don't give a shit what happens to Arsenal, but it doesn't mean I don't want to beat them when I play them. I want to beat every team we play.
You're having your cake and eating it now, Dermo.
I don't care what Arsenal do. If we're playing Chelsea, we beat Chelsea. I hate Chelsea more than I hate Arsenal, to be fair. And West Ham more than I hate Arsenal.
Yeah, you've said that to me.
Yeah, so I do hate them both more. But look, it is what it is. You're a fecker. You're a fecker,
big
Mr. Harris.
You know me, Dermo.
I know you too,
I like
well.
having a laugh. Look, Dermo, where can people find you, my man? What's going on over there at THFC till I die?
Yeah, at THFC, we've got Newsbeat every night at 8:00 now, so that's the new home for that. We've got the 2 podcasts, and we've got pre-match and post-match, and we've got European games coming up as well. We've got the 2 finals this week, and then we're going to cover Euro 2024. So a lot of stuff coming over there. A bit of a revamp, bit of changing of bits and pieces, but yeah, you'll find that if you want nutty news stories and delusional host, then THFC is your place, and follow Dermatron. So thank you, lads, for this season. It's been fantastic.
Thank you for a great season as always, Dermot. Thanks for your help on the pre-match build-up as well,
no
and on so many other things that we do over here. Thanks for your help throughout the season.
Yeah. Thanks for your banter as well. It keeps me going, so I appreciate
I know
that.
it does. Somebody has to keep you going, Dave. Somebody has to keep you going.
My missus would probably fight you for that tag. She'd probably say it's her. But look, Darbo, thank you very much, my man, and we'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Yeah,
have a good evening.
Speak to you soon. Come on, you Spurs.
Have a good evening. Come on, you Spurs.
See you later.
Oh, see you later, my man. Everyone, big up the Dermatron there. Get across THFC till I die. Make sure you check out the channel and all this transfer stuff that he's going to be bringing you over the summer. Big up Leighton Evelyn. Good to see the biggest happy clapper in the building. I know he's absolutely delighted with the Timo Werner signing. MV Joker Davies as well, grabbing a YouTube membership.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Big
that,
up,
my
MV.
man. And he's in the back end as well, so we'll be hearing from him at some point tonight. And then we'll kick off the next guest with this. But Ryan Mac F says, I have no enthusiasm for next season. Honestly, see Ange being sacked, as we will have another mediocre window. Ryan, are we being guilty of maybe judging the window too early, going too quick on it? Let's bring on the next guest. Let's hear what they have to say. Jack, who's next? Is it
I think it's
Brad or
Mia.
Mia?
She'll be great.
Oh, she'll definitely tell you. Let's get her
right
on.
after Tron as well. Good to see you, Mia.
I'm good, thank you. Not too bad. How are you guys?
We're doing okay. Trying to handle the Timo business as best we can. Do you want to start there, Mia? It might be, get it over with.
Yeah, I want to start with this comment. I mean, I know that people are feeling not so positive about the Timo news. Now, listen, I'm not one that I was advocating for him to come and stay, because I said he needs to prove more to me for me to be convinced. But that's just a little bit like defeatist, is it not? Like, should we all just give up now? Should we just give it up? Like, I just feel like people are just giving up too quickly on a window that hasn't even occurred yet. Like, I think we all need to just calm ourselves down a little bit. People need to not just jump off the deep end so much with this news. Like I say, I'm not one that I wanted him, and I'll be honest about that. And I've said that on my channel. I've always said that. But I'm not going to also jump off the deep end about one signing, because we don't know what's yet to come. So let's wait. If we get Eze, are people not going to be happy with that? They're going to say, oh my God, it's disaster because we've got Timo, but then we've got Eze. Like, people need to just be a little bit more balanced, perhaps.
What we'll say, Ryan, is let us know what would make you a good window for you personally this season. Let me know what sort of ballpark we're looking at and the players that you like, my man. So let me know in the comments. But me, you said there, you didn't really want Timo, not his biggest fan.
No.
Why?
I just don't think he did enough, Dave. I don't think he did enough contribution-wise. I think that when it comes to the final third, he did mess up quite often. Chances that he should be scoring. So for me, he did offer something, but for me, it needed to be a little bit more for me to be convinced by him. I was always very balanced. If he would have convinced me, I would have said fair enough. But he didn't really quite convince me. I did say he needed to contribute a bit more than what he has done. So...
Yeah, I think he could have contributed. Look, I think he had everything on the line, and I don't think he grasped the opportunity. But, some people would say he's a good squad player. I mean, do you subscribe to that?
It's really difficult, because I get what people are saying. I do understand it, because this summer we've got so much to do, and I think it's going to be very, very difficult for us to get it all done. And I think people's expectations is up here on what we're going to do. We've got a lot of outgoings as well. Yeah. So we need to have the balance of having enough players to play as many competitions as we are playing, as well as having decent players. So we have to strike a balance in it. So is Timo Werner signing perhaps a sign of trying to strike that balance? Possibly. Not that I agree with it, but it might possibly be that. because don't forget, we are going to be in plenty of competitions, like what Dermot said. And if we get rid of loads of players, then what we're going to do? People are going to say, we've got no squad depth. There's nobody to play in the other games. We're playing our players too much. So you sort of do have to strike a little bit more of a balance.
Does just maybe push back, we'll let Jack go in. I get what you're saying. But, bringing in Timo Werner, does it really sort of, solve an issue? When you bring him in, although, yeah, I get that we need players to come in for others and give others rest and all. But is it not a real downgrade in quality in terms of, we don't have the best quality already in terms of Kulu and Johnson and, Sonny and that. Is it not even more of a downgrade? Should we not really be going after the forward area with a lot more purpose?
Well, there's nothing saying that we won't still, Dave. Nothing saying that we won't bring in a player. If we get rid of Solomon, say, that we won't make sure that we get somebody else in. So that's all to be seen, isn't it? And Hill as well might be going. So that's obviously 2 players that we could therefore get one more that could come in and be the one that comes in for a Sonny, if Sonny's playing in the middle or not available or whatnot. So I do think that's still a possibility. I think we have to hold our horses on predicting what might happen and might not happen.
Yeah, fair.
And Mia, unless you had any other Timo things to say, I thought I'd kind of transition you into your priorities kind of this summer in general. Departures you'd like to see happen, positions you'd like to see strengthened.
Yeah, departures. There's so many, Jack.
What's a big one? What's a controversial one, even if you can think of one?
Oh, probably nothing. I wouldn't say that anybody I'd want gone is that controversial, to be fair. I would probably say the ones that we've got obviously on loan, like Ndombele has to go. I don't give a damn how you get that guy out of our club. He needs to get gone. Yeah. We've obviously got Tanganga, who it looks like he's going to get bought anyway. And even
Højbjerg's not a controversial one because we know he's likely going to leave.
Yeah, that's not controversial because he needs to get gone because he's just not good enough. Sorry, guys.
Regardless of rumors.
I think that
so what would be positions you would strengthen then, Mia? What's like what's your non-negotiable? Like, is it a new winger? Is it like Eze? That was in King Hoddle, right? You said Eze and Ederson,
Eze for me. I think we need someone else in the middle because I think Maddison's been really disappointing. And Eze is fantastic on the ball. He's strong. He's got every attribute that you want. And I can see him actually pushing out a Maddison because I think he is really, really good. So I would say for me, that could be a key signing. And I think Maddison maybe is a bit too comfortable in his position, thinking that he's the man. And I think he needs to maybe be taken down a peg or two. So for me, that one's definitely one that I would absolutely love to see come in. Someone like an Eze, absolutely. I do think we need a striker, but I think we're going to keep Richie. I know that's probably not a popular opinion, but I think Richie will stay because I think that if we get rid of Richie, then what? We're going to have the same problem where we've only got one striker.
Totally.
And Sonny. So I think
people want another one plus Richie, though. They're actually thinking we should have Richie and then another Richie, basically.
Yeah, and I think we will get another one. I think we will get someone else to play.
You got it in Werner.
But, don't. I think what we'll do is possibly buy one. We might buy a player that can play across the front three because that solves more than one problem, right? And there are players out there who are able to play across the front three. So that could be a possibility because that's a sort of all-in-one sort of problem because he does like for his players to be a bit more fluid, Postecoglou. So I would say those 2 positions for me are vital. I really think they're important. And someone like an Eze would be a dream signing for me. I would absolutely love Eze. Obviously, I would like Elise as well, but I doubt we're going to get both of them. But Elise is fantastic.
I can't see a world where Tottenham go to Palace with over 100 million for the 2 players. I'd love them to.
No.
I think it'd solve a lot of our problems, but I don't see a world where it's going to happen. I would love it too. I think they're both fantastic. But what was I going to ask you, mate? So you said about maybe keeping Richarlison and adding to him because we don't want to create a problem. Are we creating a problem by letting Emerson go and trying to add in a backup right back or someone to come in and compete with Paul if people don't like the backup word to our list? Are we adding to the problems by letting Emerson go?
Well, Emerson's a bit of a difficult one because I just think that although he's a really good guy, I just don't know if he really suits the way that Ange plays. Would we be better off getting somebody else there who is a bit more suitable to play the Postecoglou way? That's my only thing with him. Although he has improved, and like I say, I give props to the guy. Anybody who's going to go out there and improve himself with his own money the way that he has, obviously that's absolutely fantastic, and you can't knock the guy for doing that. But does he really suit the way that Ange wants to play? Possibly not. But I don't think he will go this summer, because I think we've got so much to do that I think he might be one that we don't get rid of. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. I mean,
because I think there's so much to do. I think that we would be really silly to think, like I say, everyone's expectations, we're going to get it all done, but I really can't see that happening.
I heard Dave kind of saying something like that to Mia, where it's not really ideally what everybody wants, but it's also having that bit of dose of reality as well, where it's like, well, Spurs have never really been the club to get it all done, straight away and also all in one window. And I heard Dave kind of saying something similar. So it sounds like you guys are in a similar boat of, which ones are really the priorities, right? Which ones do we have to get done this summer? And maybe which ones do you unfortunately leave for the next window, or kind of
I think for me it's important, so because we've got quite a bloated squad, so we've got quite a few out on loan. Those need to be dealt with. They need to go. We need to sort them out so they don't come back. And then we've got still players within the squad that were playing bit parts that also need to go. So that's a lot. That is a lot to think about. We've got Sessegnon's going to go on a free, so he can just get booted out, and probably in a packet of cornflakes. But yeah, there's so much to do that I think someone like Richie, Royale, I don't think they're going to go. I'm going to be honest.
Last one, because we do have to get your thoughts on the season, Mia. Player of the season, flop of the season, surprise of the season.
Player of the season would be Van de Ven. I think he's just absolutely brilliant. I've watched him a few times in real life now, and in real time, that boy, I'm like, whoo. You just see him and he's just like there. He's like Roadrunner. That's what it reminds me of. Yeah. He proper reminds me of him. And when you see him in real life, it's different. It's different to see him at the stadium. So it was absolutely brilliant. And of course, my boy Romero does get a shout out for scoring goals and a massive improvement this year with the way that he's behaved. He's just absolutely bucked his ideas up. So I think that he's come a long way. Whatever Postecoglou said to him, he's really bucked his ideas up. For me, the flop of the season, this might surprise a lot of people, but I think Maddison, because there come a lot of hype with Maddison, and I was a bit doubtful about Maddison, and I was put in my place and said, actually, those first 10 games I watched him, and then I was like, maybe I was completely wrong. I really like Maddison, but then he let me down. But in the game the other day, in the friendly, he did the things that he did at the beginning, where he was tiptoeing through that goal he scored. What a brilliant goal. It's them things that he hasn't been doing during the season that I've been so disappointed with him. So disappointed, because a lot of people, that was a bit of a marquee kind of signing. So I think for me, that was a massive disappointment for Maddison. I think that a lot of people said he takes a while to get back into it when he had an injury, but blimey, that was a bit too long for my opinion. And he got away. I think he gets away with it as well, because people like him. People are like, oh, but he's had injuries. When other people have had injuries, they completely slag them off. Yeah. So.
No, I completely agree with that. I actually remember having a conversation with you last year, on why, I would probably prefer going with Pedro Gonçalves, because I think he has a better mentality than Maddison. I think Maddison, over the course of this season, somewhere along the lines has sort of lost the run of himself and maybe started to believe his own hype rather than, produce the goods on the pitch. And where I worry is, like you said, against Newcastle, he's doing all the things we wanted him to do in the season. But he's doing it. Of course, he's going to do it in a friendly. There's no pressure on him. Where we want him to deliver is in that pressured environment. And I agree with you. I think maybe you could put him down as flop of the season. But look, Leah, great calling. Really appreciate you calling in again as usual. What's going on over here at Spurs Between Lights?
Well, tomorrow I'm actually doing a call in with Keep Sell Loan to see what people are saying. All my members are welcome to come on and have their say and join me, so we can all have a big discussion about it. I did actually do a watch along for my first one, the first one I've ever done. So I'm going to do watch alongs for some of the Tottenham pre-season friendlies. I'm going to do the QPR one. I'll do the Bayern one. So yeah, I'll be doing those as well. So also I'll be doing transfers. I will be keeping everyone updated once it opens, because at the moment it's all just really like loads and loads of different rumours. But
Yeah.
I will start doing those, and I'll get them done by 8 o'clock. So if everyone wants the early news, then I'll be doing that as well.
You can count on Mia being up earlier and sharper than anybody else. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm an early riser. Luckily for like anyone who wants news, early doors, because I unfortunately have dogs that like to wake me up. It's not the kids anymore; it's the dogs now that wake me up.
Yeah, you traded places. Sounds like. But everybody, please head on over Spurs Between the Lines. Show Mia some love. She's like
also
Dermatron.
make sure you smash like for these boys as well. Big up to both of you, because you do an incredible job. You work so hard. Like I'm a bit more like laid back on my channel, but you guys are always on it with everything. So
appreciate it.
I think you work very hard as well, Mia. It's just that I was going to say, you work very hard by even continuing to show up for these fan shows. I'm, like Dermot, you haven't gotten sick of us, so we're very thankful.
I'll
for
never
that.
get sick of you two. Of course not. You're my Kylie and Jason. I've never
Maybe
get sick
not Jack,
of you.
but me more so.
Oh, come off it, Dave. We speak on the phone for like ages. We always have a good natter, me and you, and it was lovely. Yeah. Also, one of my highlights of the season has to be meeting Dave in person. Yeah. Because that was wicked. Nice. At North London Derby, I met a lot of people. And
shame it wasn't longer. I blame Nick's hangover for us not getting down there earlier.
Bad Nick. But yeah, it was lovely, honestly, to meet you in real life. And I'm hoping next season you boys come to a couple of games or a game, and I'll make sure I get there as well, so I can meet you guys.
Thank you, Mia. Thanks for a great season as always. Thanks for being like Dermot, helping us out when we needed it, being a big contributor to us. So we really do help. We do appreciate you. Thanks, Mia.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Have a good week. See ya.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Big up me. Great call. Do get over. Check out Spurs Between the Lines. Like Jack says, when most of us are having our coffee, me is already 2 espressos in and recording. So make sure you get over and check the channel out. Just quickly, Leighton Evelyn, my happy clapper says, we are sheep. We pay the most money in the country for mediocre football. Why do we accept this? The reason is, football's like a drug. It's like a dopamine hit. As much as you get pissed off with it, we all know, as if we get pissed off with a huge loss, we're back there the next day trying to, get amongst the conversation and all again. It's just, it is what it is. It's one of them things, unfortunately, Leighton Evelyn. But to say we're all sheep, I sort of disagree. I think it's easy to aim at one side that has a different opinion going, you're a sheep, but then the other person could label the exact same back at you the other way around. So, I think it works both ways in this instance, Leighton. And we have Robert Palmer. Good to see you, my man. Says, want to see us sign Archie Gray from Leeds. Young and could cover right back and defensive midfielder. Give Parrott a go as backup number 9. Don't want Gallagher. He's a cement mixer.
Oh, no. Robert. Oh, no. This was Dave and I were chatting about the Leeds game, and I was saying there's somebody that I wanted to keep an eye on for that game that we were linked with, and it was Archie Gray. That was the name that I was searching for with who we had been linked with. I think he's a Paratici target maybe from like a year ago or something like that Spurs have been keeping an eye on, maybe similar to Alex Scott, kind of a guy that's just been on our radar for a little bit of time now. He is a technically gifted player, and he's good enough to be able to play out of position in kind of a right wing back, sort of like right back kind of role. He's good at coming in midfield, 2-footed player, just looks to be technically very sound. I'm not really sure though what position he would exactly cover for Spurs. Like, I think he would play in midfield. I'm just not really sure yet because I haven't seen enough of him. Is he more of a deeper lying playmaker? Is he more of like a box to box? I'd assume he's more of a box to box, but we kind of have enough of that already right now. We have Pop Matassar, we have Bentancur. We could, look at Conor Gallagher, who we're already looking at getting, this summer. So it feels like that's a very saturated position for me with Archie Gray. But don't get me wrong, a very, very talented player, and is playing well beyond his, age group, right? Isn't he only like 17 or 18 or something like that? Yeah. So very, very good. And obviously there's a real reason why Paratici was after him, I think, if I have that correct.
Do you know what? I think Archie Gray is a very talented player, doing what he's doing in the championship at 18, that not every teenager gets to live that dream. So there's a supreme talent there, and I do think he's a name that England's going to be hearing a lot of in the future, and that the Premier League will see a lot of in the future. However, Leeds owe out huge money from transfers that they were making in the Premier League and stuff like that. They really rolled the bank on getting a quick return back to the Premier League. It hasn't happened. So they're going to have to restructure the finances at that football club, and they're going to have to sell players. But we ain't getting someone like Archie Gray for cheap. You're talking about 50, 60, 70 million homegrown. Then that comes with a premium. You know, the fact that you take his age into account and what the player he could become. You're talking about a very expensive signing when it comes to Archie Gray. I'm going to be controversial, but Leeds didn't know Archie Gray was going to be good enough until they gave him the opportunity. Why can't we do the same with someone like Tyrese Hall? You know, he's absolutely brilliant this season. Meteoric rise, under 18s to under 21s, has passed the test every single time, and he wouldn't have gone out to Australia if they didn't think he had the potential to become an elite midfielder in the Premier League. They wouldn't have wasted the time. So for me, why not give someone like, you know, Tyrese Hall to go and invest your time and that into him rather than go and give other clubs monies for their young talents when we're producing our own? The problem at Tottenham Hotspur is actually giving them the pathway. So for me, on that basis, I'd actually go with Tyrese Hall rather than bring in Archie Gray. Although I agree with you, Robbie, I think he's a supreme talent. When it comes to Parrott, again, I don't know why, but I'm going to disagree with you. Look, I like Parrott. I'm Irish. You know, I really want the guy to succeed. However, this season it got off to a great start for him, but injuries keep coming back to haunt this guy every single season. And he's at the age now, he's 22, going on to be 23 years of age. And no one's seen what Parrott can do over the course of a whole season. We've had him on loan for the last 4 to 5 years, and there's been no real progression. All we keep seeing is the same thing. There's talent there, but how long do you give that talent to develop? You know, and with Parrott, he just keeps getting injured. And it's frustrating for me being Ireland as well, because we don't have great players that he has to displace from the Ireland team. He'd walk straight into it if he could stay fit and get a run of games, but that's his biggest problem. I know Andy Skolden has been out there a few times, keeping an eye on Troy Parrott, actually out there watching his games and stuff like that. But I think the club are going to look to cash in on him in the summer with the amount of teams that are interested. You got teams in the Dutch league interested, Serie A, Bundesliga, teams like that. And I think we will end up looking to cash in on him personally. When it comes to Gallagher being a cement mixer, by the way, just quickly, I watched this documentary series on YouTube. It follows this team called Dorking Wanderers. It's called Bunch of Amateurs. Well, they also do little side spins of other clubs in and around London and stuff like that. And one of them, they actually follow Gallagher's 2 other brothers who are manager and co-manager. And I think some of his cousins play on the team. It's like a whole team of Gallagher's, basically. And you know what? He comes from good stock, Gallagher. I'll give it to him. I like his brothers. I like his cousins. You know, the mentality and stuff
Footballing
like
family.
that. He comes from good stock, and I can see why Tottenham want him. You're talking about all action, defensive side of the game can produce going forward. Whether we're going to pay the money that it takes to get out Chelsea, I'm not quite so sure.
Yeah, I could see why some people are a little turned off by Gallagher, because he's not like someone that totally catches the eye with like flicks and tricks and, you know, amazing bits of genius. But there is something that he adds, and that's what Dave said. He has that work rate. He does have a great mentality. He knows how to work hard for managers. I think probably tactically he kind of gets it. He can listen to what a manager tells him, and he can do it on the pitch. And then he has a knack for just getting goals, whether you like it or not. He just seems to pick up goals, I think, here and there as a player. And maybe Ange sees that in him, and he could bring that to our midfield. But I don't blame you for not being totally blown away by Gallagher. I also had that first kind of feeling with him, but I'm starting to get slowly turned on him. Very slowly, though, may I add.
That's the thing. I'm not blown away by the guy. But, you know, does he offer more than what Skip could, for example, and him being homegrown? I think, yes, 100% he does. But look, Rob, really appreciate the talking point,
Thank
my
you,
man.
sir.
You got a lot out of myself and Jack there, you know, in that one. Shame I disagree with you on some of it, but look, this is what we're here for. You know, I have go back and forth. Maybe you can get into the chat, convince me why we need to get Archie Gray instead of maybe developing someone like Tyrese Hall. You know, I'm open to it. I'm not
Let us know.
close-minded, my man. So, you know, get in there and let me know. Big up Robbie Palmer. Really appreciate the support. But look, let's keep this moving. We've got a full back end. Who have we got next, Jack? I believe it's Brad, is it?
Yep, we got Brad up next. Brad Matthews. Welcome him in, everybody. Another one of the regulars. He's been with us this whole season. Thanks, Brad, for a great season. But it's Timo Day. Brad, that's what we have to start off with. Got to eat your vegetables.
But the only thing I'll say about Timo Werner is, and it's a bit of a tangent, there's been some people saying it's Ange being a yes man, basically. by what the comment he made a few days ago, where they asked him, how about Timo Werner? He goes, oh yeah, we're just waiting for the club to sort something out. And they immediately thought, oh, that's Ange being a yes man. It's Ange being a yes man. They're telling him what players he's going to sign. Well, why don't we turn that on his head? Why don't we turn it on the head that Ange has said, I haven't seen enough of Timo Werner to make a decision, but if you can get him for another season on a loan, then I'll take him. Okay, Ange, we'll see what we can do. It could be that. So all this, Ange the yes man bollocks is just total rubbish, But anyway, that's all I want to say about Timo Werner. I think we've all people have said enough on him. We'll see. Maybe he might be a successful player. Maybe he won't be. We'll just have to wait.
Sounds like you're already sick of him, Brad, by the point of it. It's not really that you don't like him. It's that you're sick of the Timo conversations, which I don't blame you.
It's fine to have an opinion on whether you want him or not. And you know what David was saying and Mia was saying about the squad player situation and that sort of thing. And I agree with what David was saying. I agree with what Dermot was saying. But at the end of the day, people are getting so triggered by it. There are a lot of it's like he calls World War III. It's like, oh my God, Armageddon's around the corner because of Timo Werner.
Dave was saying he commits murders on the socials, not on the dance floor.
Exactly. So yeah, I just think it's people have got a little bit triggered and they seem to write things into it. Oh, it means we've got no ambition. We're going to be losers for the rest of our lives now because we're going to sign Timo Werner. No, come on, chill out, guys. Let's give it some time. Let's see what happens. Let's see who else we sign. The window's I don't think the window's officially opened, is it? And we're already moaning. Let's see who we sign. As someone said in the comments, if we sign Eze and Edison, I'll be happy with having Timo Werner. So yeah, let's see what happens.
Maybe though, Brad, this year that the fact that there's so much what would you call it? Different of opinions, it's really split on social media. Does that not maybe lead to the quality? Because even the people that are maybe pro Werner signing, none of them are sitting there going, he's a game changer. They're just sitting there, maybe advocating that, okay, it's a smart option as a backup. So does that not maybe show that Tottenham should be aiming a lot higher, or a lot higher in the transfer market, especially up front, because that was a massive problem area last season, and Werner contributed to that.
Let me answer that in one thing, is that maybe we are aiming higher. As I say, the window's not open yet. Maybe we will get a players in. The one thing that won't happen, I don't think this season we're going to be signing any superstar players. But the simple fact is that, Tottenham Hotspur finished 5th and got knocked out the cups too early. We're in the Europa League. So we're not going to sign the superstar players that are out there. Now, players like Eze, and I don't know much about Edison, but I keep seeing his name, they are players that we can possibly get. So they're the players that we need to be going for. We're not going to be signing £100 million players. Once we have a successful season under our belt, if we win a couple of, win a trophy or two and finish second or third or whatever, then you're gonna turn the eye of some of these superstar players. So that's what I think about that sort of situation. I think Tottenham will bring some players in, and who knows? Maybe we are aiming for decent players and high players, but to sort of jump to the conclusion that because we signed Timo Werner, that shows no ambition, and the transfer window hasn't even opened yet, I just think it's nonsensical.
Look, I agree with that. To write the transfer window off right now is absolute madness. We still got lots of time to really go after other positions with a lot more sort of gung ho about. I 100% agree with that. I just think it sets a bad precedent, him being the first one announced. But look,
yeah, that's what I was just about to say, Dave. Like Timo, he must have been regretting this being the first one. Like now that he's seeing this reaction from everyone, he's like, why am I being used as this metaphor for for the club's problems and everything? Like just one man.
After the Melbourne game, is stayed in Australia, to meet friends and family for 3 or 4 days. So this was obviously a deal that could happen without him being there.
Maybe it was already done 2 degrees.
Yeah, he just needs to say, can we get him on a loan, another loan deal? So I haven't made up my mind, and then that happened. So, maybe that's probably the reason it was the first deal, because it's one that was just basically, they're ready to go. Yeah. So we'll have to, as I say, we'll have to see what happens. We'll see. Oh, there you go.
Become official on Spurs, yeah.
Yeah, just quickly, I'll just read out the official announcement for everybody, and then we'll ask Brad a bit as well on the season. But Tottenham have put out their official statement on the Werner signing, saying, "We are delighted to announce an agreement for Timo Werner to rejoin us on loan from Leipzig for the 24-25 season, with an option to make the deal permanent." Signed on loan from the Bundesliga side in January, the German international forward was a regular in Ange Postecoglou's team in the second half of the season. With Sonny on international duty and Kulusevski injured, Timo was straight into action, starting and setting up Rodrigo Bentancur's goal in the 2-2 draw against United on his debut at Old Trafford within 5 days of joining us. Timo, 28, went on to make 14 appearances for us, with 13 in the Premier League, 1 in the FA Cup, and he contributed goals against Brentford and Villa and 3 assists in those 13 appearances in the Premier League before a hamstring issue ended his season early in May. So that's the official announcement from Tottenham Hotspur, from you guys. Maybe their justification behind it, that he was a regular in Ange's team. Maybe they don't feel he's done as bad as many fans think he has. I know one thing they're saying is they're giving him one of them assists for Rodrigo Bentancur's goal against Man United. But being brutally honest, he just passed it to him. Rodrigo Bentancur was the one that actually made that goal and finished it. And that's where I worry, that we're starting to provide these things for players to make them look good rather than actually just go, look.
Well, I have to say, no matter what my opinion is on Timo Werner, the player, the club statement is basically saying, they're not going to put anything bad, are they? It's going to be like,
and they're going for word count there. You can really tell.
Remember that? Remember when we needed a cup of tea and no one would go, and he did go, didn't he? He did go and get the coffees in that day. It is a bit sort of like that sort of stuff. But
short of saying what Timo's favorite color was after that, but I was going to say Jan's assist. Exactly right.
Exactly. What a ball that was.
But everybody forgets the assist. Player of the season, Brad. Let's wrap up the season with you, because I know you want to do that.
I'm going to sound like everyone else now. I mean, obviously Van der Ven's got to be the player of the season, but and can I just also a big shout out to Vicario and Udogie, because Van der Ven, Vicario and Udogie, that's their first ever season in the Premier League in a new defence, and that was our new defence. And I know we conceded a lot of goals, but I think they did really, really well for their first season. But Van der Ven, I mean, people who say, "Oh, we never signed anyone," seem to ignore the fact that we got him for next to a pittance. This guy could be worth double money in the next season. So yeah, I think he's just and also it points out to the fact that maybe, just maybe, our scouting department is improving now, because everyone wanted Tasiba, or whatever his name was, and Van der Ven, in a lot of people's eyes, was the second choice. And yet we got him, and look how good he's turned out to be. The same with Vicario. Everyone wanted David Raya. Who's this Vicario guy? Turns out to be a really good keeper. So maybe just maybe our scouting department is improving. So that's an obvious player of the season, but that's my player of the season.
And surprise of the season and flop of the season.
Oh, let's go flop of the season. I don't like the word flop. Let's go disappointment of the season.
Okay.
I don't think there's any one player that I could describe as a flop, but there are some players that have been disappointing after good starts, and I think Mia put it with Maddison and also with Basuma. They had really, really good starts and then didn't seem to follow on from that. With Maddison, you can make the argument about the injury. That's injury on your foot's quite a thing to get back from, and hopefully we'll see him next season come back to the Maddison we had at the start of the season. Basuma, I don't know what to make of Basuma. Sometimes he's one of the best. No, for those first 10 games, he was excellent. Mm-hmm. And suddenly he gets himself sent off. He goes to the African Cup of Nations, and he just falls away. So I don't know. So I'd say he put disappointments. And also, this might be controversial. I think Kulusevski didn't have a very good season.
Sure.
I think he was a bit disappointing. But then again, we base that on the brilliant seasons he's had before. So there are definitely players there to improve. I think the whole season as a whole, I know you're going to ask me what rating I give it. I would give it a 7 out of 10, but I think the early cup exits disappointed me. All right, you can't, we got knocked out against one of the best teams in the world in world football, but that disappointed me. So that might knock it down to a 6. But I think, considering where we were after last season, I think it's been a very, a positive season in that respect, that we've now got something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to next season. I'm positive about next season. I think that that we had. Considering where we were, I think we've definitely improved, and the culture at the club seems to be changing. There seems to be that family atmosphere that we used to have under Pochettino. So yeah, I think that's going well. And let's go back to one game. Chelsea at home. Son's through and goal. Or we score. We're 2-0 up. Offside flag. Son's just offside. If that goal goes in, if he's onside for that goal, we're 2-0 up. We're probably close to win that game. We probably don't get the injuries. We probably don't get Romero sent off and that sort of thing. So there's that turning point there. And also the same thing happened against Aston Villa. Son had the goal for 2-0 up against Aston Villa, slightly offside, and we go and lose the game 2-1, and we miss out on Champions League.
Very good point.
A couple of points. So I think those are sort of a couple of turning points.
Good memory.
People are obviously going to remember the last 10 games where we weren't good, but then you've got to look at the whole season as a whole. It's 38 games. We started off really, really good, and we ended really, really badly. Now, if it had been the other way around, people would probably be the totally opposite. Oh, wow, I'm really looking forward to next season because we had such a bad start. Look how we ended it. Yeah. Which I seem to remember, and I was doing this myself, we're all doing after the season under Conte when we made the Champions League. We had a great end to that season, made the Champions League. Everyone was really, really optimistic. We all know what happened. So yeah, I think it's. I'm positive about next season. I'd like to see who we sign. I definitely want to see some more players, and we've got to get rid of some of these players. I'm sorry, Brian Hill, Lo Celso, no matter how good we may think they are, Ange doesn't want to play them. So why are they there?
Yeah,
so I think agree. They've got to get those out. Nondombele, he must be. I'm trying to think. He signed a 6-year deal in 2019. Am I right?
He's one more year when he comes back.
I was going to say, yeah. So it's almost like they're going to loan him out again for another season.
Yeah.
Someone else to pay his wages and then sell him for a free.
Whoopie-doo. There.
But we need to get some of these players out the door. And it's nothing against Brian Hill, nothing against Lo Celso. I just think that Ange doesn't want to play them. So why are they there for? It's at the moment you have to say that not going back to I'm going back to Timo Werner. He obviously prefers Timo Werner than Brian Hill. So that's where we're at. So we need to get some of these players out. Ben Davis, I know, is a lot of people's favourites to get out the door. I think we need to get defensive cover for the fullbacks positions before we think of selling Ben Davis. If we can get cover for them, then thank you very much, Ben. Thanks for your efforts on that. But I think we need to make sure we get cover in a lot of these positions. Same with Emerson as well. If we can get cover for right back and left back, I'm happy to see Emerson go. Strikers, we need a striker. If we get strikers in, I'm happy for Richarlison. If we get offered lots and lots of money from Saudi Arabia for Richarlison and he wants to go, then take that money. But we need to get the players in first, or have players that we need to get in so we have those strikers.
Big summer ahead. We kicked it off today. Kicked it off today with Timo Werner. So let's wait and see. What else we can do. But Brad, Blue Sofa Songs. Why do people need to get on?
Yeah, no, please check out my channel if you don't already know. I write and play and record and produce and do videos of my own songs. All the lyrics are mine, all the music's mine. I play all the instruments. There's some heavy songs in there. There's some light songs. There's some political songs. It's all there. Depends on how I feel at the moment. There might be a new song out this week. It might be next week, depending on what time I get. I'm basically doing a new version of an old song. I won't say which one, but I'm going to do a new version of an old song. And more will become clear when I upload it. But the only other thing I need to say is that I've booked my holidays, my days off now for the Euros. So I'm looking forward to that. So
I'm glad.
And hopefully, nice. I know, David, you might not share this, but hopefully Harry Kane will win his first trophy.
Nope, don't want him to. I said that before we sold him. If he leaves, I don't want him to win anything. And so far,
hey guys,
I mean, it's happened. He hasn't won a thing, so hopefully that continues.
David's got his wish.
He learns a lesson.
But hey guys, thanks for your support over the year with my channel, and thanks for all the laughs we've had. And all I can do is wish you an absolutely great summer. I'll probably be on some of the fan shows, but yeah, it's
thank you, sir.
A great summer. There's a lot of channels out there that basically annoy me, but this obviously is definitely not one of them. It's one of the better channels out there.
Not yet.
So,
Still time.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks for everything, guys, and click the likes for all these guys and everyone else that's appearing, and click the likes for me. And by the way, I'm over 200 subscribers now. I'm 204.
Come on, get in there, Brad.
I had a chat with some people. I had a chat with some people at work, and they've all subscribed. So
nice. Well, Brad,
Nicely
thank you
done.
very much for your contribution over the course of the season. I'm sure we'll be in
Cheers,
contact
guys.
over the summer. We'll get you on a couple of times, my man. And
definitely.
wish you best of luck for the Euros, lad. See how you get on.
Thank you. And also, not wanting to bring politics into it. Also, the elections.
Yeah. You know, I was over there when they called the general election. You know, sending into chaos very, very quickly. But Brad, pick yourself up, and we'll see you again soon, my man.
Thank you for the season, Brad.
Appreciate your work. Come on, you Spurs. Believe it.
Have a good one. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Brad. Everybody, what a contributor Brad is, you know.
Great guy.
Always comes on here, sort of speaks a bit of sense, you know, calms me down a little bit and stuff like that, which is hard to do. So fair play to him on that. And guys, please get over, check out Blue Sofa Songs. It's a guy with a dream, you know, writing his own music. You know, I'm a big believer in people following their dreams, so why not be a part of that and help them achieve it? So get over there and check out Brad at Blue Sofa Songs. Big yourself up. But look, we'll keep it moving. I believe the next guest is... Let me have a look.
Not Sean. It was going to be Sean, but now I believe it is Michael.
Let's get him on. Let's hear what he has to say.
Bring him in. And also champion, everybody, just quickly, champion of the fantasy league as well. Michael ended up being the champion of the members fantasy league. So big up to him. We'll do a better job of being more active. And I kind of dropped the ball towards the end of the season there. But Michael, if you ever wanted to congratulate someone, here he is. He won a trophy. Not many other people won a trophy this year, but Michael did. Big up to you, sir. I know you have a lot to say on Timo, though. Sorry, I don't want to speak for you.
No worries. Quickly with the fantasy, as I said, I was in a really competitive league with my mates. Actually, the winner of our league finished at he was 1,200 place. So absolutely mad scoreline.
Wow.
Pretty much since January we had no chance of catching up to him, but that's why I had to use the scam to actually try and gain some rank on him. That's why I used Arsenal and Chelsea players, unfortunately. But but listen, never mind that. And actually, I would like to do the season review with you guys first, because I have some things to say about Werner, but if I get into it, I know that I will take my whole time.
You'll waste your time. I feel you.
Yeah.
Player of the season, Michael. Who's your player of the season?
Actually, I'm going to be a bit different, because I know everyone is pretty much everyone is picking Van de Ven, and rightfully so. I think he totally deserves it. But for me, actually, I would pick Romero over him.
Ooh, yeah.
I think because Mickey Van de Ven is the new shining star, and I think he catches a lot of eyes with the stuff that he does, with the running and nicking ball of attackers, etc. Right? But I think Romero absolutely stepped up this season with his disciplinary record. I know he has the red card against Chelsea, but other than that, I think his yellow card situation was really, really good this season. I think the leadership that he's shown this season was absolutely amazing. The amount of fight and passion this guy has shown, the goals that he contributed, let's not forget about that. I think that he actually contributed offensively. And I think he's been really, really solid defensively. I honestly don't remember a bad game of his other than the Chelsea game at home, but I think the whole team had a stinker that day. So I would actually pick Romero, but it's just slightly over Mickey Van de Ven and slightly over Porro. I think Porro is also the amount of minutes this guy played, the amount of offensive contributions. Again, I know he had a couple of bad games defensively, but I think overall, he's been a really, really solid guy. So that's the player of the season.
I agree. Definition of you can't go wrong with Mickey Van de Ven or Romero there. I think it's just your preference really, and that's all it comes down to. I don't think there is a right or a wrong there.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I actually think Romero has had a better campaign than Van de Ven over the whole of it. I think Van de Ven's been fantastic, don't get me wrong, but I think Romero's elevated his game to a whole new level. And maybe, where he's at now is where people maybe question, could he bring that maturity to his game? And I think he's proven a lot of people wrong. And I think Pep Guardiola sitting there raging that he doesn't have someone like Romero on his team the way he is defensively and on the ball. So, top quality scouting there by the Don Paratici. But Jack, where are we going next? What's the next one?
Surprise of the season, flop of the season.
So surprise of the season for me, I actually want to give it to Vicario and Udogie. I think both of them really deserve it because honestly with Mickey Van de Ven, I know he's only had like one, senior top level fight season, but he was really like a lot was spoken about him outside of Germany. I think he was a talent that many football clubs had their sights on him. But I think with Udogie, the way we snapped him up, like 1 year previous to this season, and with Vicario, I think he wasn't like the biggest name out there. I know in Italy he was really rated, but outside of Italy, there weren't really that many suitors for him, right? And I think like the big goalkeeper that left Italy was Onana, and everyone was talking about Onana, especially with his performance in the Champions League final previous season, right? But I think we got Vicario, and I wasn't sure what I'm going to get with him, and I'm actually like stunned by his performance. I think he's been outstanding this season. And same thing with Udogie. I think there is a lot of room to grow with Udogie, but he's still young as hell, and I think he can only improve from that point. And I think in terms of flop of the season, I would say I think the obvious answers are probably Maddison and Bissouma. I think it's a bit of recency bias because I think because of their good performances at the beginning of the season, we kind of like downgrade them and we look badly at them because they weren't performing up to that standard, right? But also, Brad, you kind of stole my answer. I also want to point to Kulusevski because I think if not for that game against Sheffield, he wouldn't be at 10 goal contributions throughout the whole season. And with the amount of minutes that he's played, with the amount of position that he's covered, etc., I think I need more from him, right? I actually think that I know he's not the oldest, winger, and he shouldn't be like the leader, maybe, right? But I want to see more from him, and I know there is talent there, right? Because with guys like, for example, Solomon Hill, they are not getting chances, right? But we don't really know what they are about. Whereas with Kulusevski, I think we've seen that he actually can both score and assist a lot because of that stint with Conte, and I think I need more from him next season, right? So that's the way I would see it. And I think you also boys were talking about like the best game of the
favorite
season.
moment, favorite game.
Favorite moment is that Pedro Porro screamer against Burnley in the FA Cup. I absolutely holy shit! I was screaming my nuts off when he scored that. Basically, like every Pedro Porro goal this season has been an absolute grinder. So whichever one you want to choose, right? The Rom bomb against Burnley was also a really good goal. But I think so that's in terms of goal, and I think in terms of the match of the season, I think overall performance, I would probably point to Arsenal away or Newcastle at home. I think Arsenal away, there were a couple of issues with us playing out of the back. If you remember the Jesus chance that he had in like 20th minute, I think we could have been punished there. But overall, the performance was really solid because I'm not going to lie, I was shitting bricks because we are only like 6 games into the season.
It's such a big game.
Didn't really know what to expect, and it was such a big game, and they were coming off being second the previous season, so I was really like fearing that we will actually get slapped, and we didn't, and I think we really showed a lot of character in that game. And I think Newcastle at home was the best performance in terms of like the whole 90 minutes we actually played our football, dominated the ball, dominated possession, scored 4 goals. Unfortunately, we lost the clean sheet at the end. But I think overall it was the best performance of the season for me. So with that, I think that's it for the summary, right? Unless I missed a category, I'm not sure.
No,
No.
I
think you hit the categories.
Yeah.
We could move on to the Timo business since Jerome has just brought it up here. Would you be all right with that, Michael, or did you have
Yeah, of course,
another
of
thing you
course.
want? Okay, Timo business. Now we get to it. Jerome says, "What are your thoughts on Werner getting another loan deal for next season? To be honest, I'm not happy about this." Michael, I feel like you might agree here with Jerome.
So it's really tough with Werner because I think a lot of the criticism, and I think rightfully so, comes because he's named Timo Werner and because of his past in the Premier League. I think if he wasn't 30, he wasn't
Michael, I think you're Michael. For some reason,
sorry,
we couldn't
you're
hear
back,
you for
you're
half
back.
a second. I think you're back
I'm
now.
back,
We just
I'm
couldn't
back.
hear you for a few words. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine.
So coming back, right? I think the issue is that his name is Timo Werner and he's an ex-Chelsea flop. That's the way I see it, and I think with the way this season went and with Andrew's words about like strengthening the our front line, right? I think the fact that our first like signing of the season is Timo Werner, I think it's really like demoralizing with a lot of like people's perceptions, right? And I honestly don't blame them because I'm kind of like not demoralized, but underwhelmed in a sense. And I had a couple of like, fights, if you want to call them that, with other Spurs fans on different forums today, right? Because when I criticized the signing, I got hit with he's a free signing and who else would you get, right? So with the first argument, he's a free signing. Not really. He's on 165k per week, which means we will pay at least £8 million for him for wages, right?
Yeah.
And we will probably pay a loan fee. I'm guessing it will be like a couple of £1 million, right? So it's not like he's completely free, Leipzig are paying all of his wages and and he's just here to play for us, right? And the second one, which honestly grinds my gears, is the fact that people are saying that there is no one else to pick. And I said it in the background before we started the show, right? I kid you not, I went through like the list of different leagues and I found 46 wingers. I kid you not, I counted 46 wingers who are at similar or slightly higher price ranges, who actually had a good season and are younger than Werner, and I think they can do a similar job. So with some of the names, you can like have a discussion whether they would do a better job or worse job than Timo Werner, but I think the quality is similar and the prospect is much different. As I said, I think this signing is not really about what the player brings. It's more about the name and the reputation, and that's the way I see it, right? Because I think if we signed, I don't know, let's just throw a name out there. Let's say, just give me oh Jesus, why am I blanking now?
I just find it funny that there are only 46 wingers that you could find that were better than Timo Werner. I think Dave would be able to find 50.
Trust me, I had like 10 minutes looking through like the leagues. So let's just say
I love that you're also counting as well. You're like, oh, is it 47? Maybe I counted 45.
let's just say we signed I don't know, Scott Olsen from Bruges for 20 million, let's say, right?
Sure.
I get it that people could argue that he would do a better job, worse job than Werner, that Werner possibly could have better numbers than Scott Olsen. But I think the perception of a winger, of us signing a young, prospectful winger for similar money would be much different than us signing Werner. And I hope Werner shuts me up next season. I hope that I am wrong with my criticism, right? But as much as people say that his role is to create, I also can't agree with the fact that he cannot score goals or that he doesn't have to score goals. He's a winger, he's a forward player for us, and I think he has to convert some of the chances, right? I'm not saying he has to score 20, but he has to score like 10, let's say, next season, right? And I don't think he's capable of doing that, right? And I've seen his like conversion rates, and I think he has like 8% shot conversion rate or something stupid like that, right? Which is absolutely like one of the lowest in the league, right? I think I checked on FBref, it's like 20th percentile or something like that, right? So I think it's his shot conversion rate and his actually like goals scored from the XG is really, really low. And I honestly, I just hope that we do not find ourselves in a situation where, I don't know, we are in a quarterfinal of Europa League and, you know, it's 2-2 or we are losing 2-1 and the chance falls to him and he blazes it over the bar like he usually does, right?
Like he did against
That's what
Newcastle.
I'm afraid. And then everyone who is happy now will be cussing him out because he missed a chance, but we know he misses chances, right? That's my issue with it. I think we need more goal scorers in the front line. And that's my issue with Timo Werner. Again, I'm not denying that he is a good dribbler. I'm not denying that he presses well. I'm not denying that he is pacey. But he has all those things, and actually he's quite good at them, right? But goal scoring is not the one. And crossing is also like subpar, right? But especially goal scoring is really, really not where we need it to be, right? And that's why I'm this paired with the reputation of the player, for me, means that the signing is underwhelming, right?
Yeah, I agree.
It's really strange because, as I said, I think if he were like exactly the same player but with the name John Smith from, I don't know, Hull City, let's say, and 23, much a completely different approach, right? But the issue is that he's Werner, he's on big wages, he's 30, and we are only loaning him, right? So it's not like he's staying, and if he improves, then we get him, right? I know there will be a buy option probably, right, at the end of the season, but yeah, I don't know. I am a bit underwhelmed, boys. I'm gonna be honest.
I agree with you. I completely agree with you. I don't think he solves a problem in our attack whatsoever. Not only did we need to score more goals last season, but we also need to create a lot more chances in a lot of the games last season. And I don't think he brings either, to be brutally honest. And I think, you know, I get it's an easy one to do, but if it's that easy, why not hold on to later on in the window and see if there's other targets that you can bring in?
Right.
That 185k now means that if someone could become available, we can't take them now because we're paying him plus maybe a small loan fee. But look, Michael, big yourself up. Really appreciate your time. I think you made your point very, very clear about Timo Werner there. I think his agents will be paying you not to speak about him in future, I would say. But thank you very much,
Love
Michael.
the Romero shout, too.
Looking sharp, and we'll see you again soon, lad.
Thank you, lads. Have a nice stream. Have a nice day and have a nice week.
Same to you.
Yeah.
And thank
Hope
you
to
for
see you a
your
lot during the
contribution
summer
over the season as well. And we'll be in touch over the summer, all right?
Yeah, hope to see you a lot.
Always a pleasure speaking with you, boys. And thank you for all the job that you've done this season and all the previous seasons, and that you will do next season and the seasons to come.
It, lad.
I'm really happy that I can be a part of your community.
Of course.
Always be a part of it. Thank you, Michael.
A huge part of it. Thank you, Michael. And see you again soon, my man.
See you.
Have a
good summer.
Bye-bye. Oh, Timo Werner is not going to be happy with Michael there. He's completely, put out everything why we shouldn't sign him. His agents will be trying to silence Michael now.
Poland is tearing apart Timo right now. Poland is doing analytical dissection of Timo. 46 wingers. I loved that. Absolutely
love that. Love that.
Jerome in here again. And Jerome, I said to you in the chat, I think, Michael hopefully in some way kind of sympathized with you there. It looked like he was sympathizing with some of your frustrations around Timo. And then Dave and I even also put out our own video today at some point if you did want to check that out. And he says, so no Eze next season, then if Werner is getting another loan deal. Now, Dave, I feel like we still can easily sign another top winger, another top forward. I don't believe that Werner is expected to be any sort of marquee signing of any kind for this summer. In fact, what I would expect is Spurs will sign a top striker and then hopefully another top winger, not even including Werner, because I don't think we would call even Timo Werner a top winger. We are going to hopefully sign 2 forwards, I think, this summer, Jerome. At least that's my expectation.
Well, look, it's coming from Mr. Transfer Guru himself, Fabrizio Romano, Jack. He says Tottenham will still look into new signings up front for Ange Postecoglou after the Werner deal. Spurs are considering wingers and centre strikers in case of good opportunities, with several players still expected to leave. Brian Hill could be sold this summer. So according to Fabrizio Romano, Tottenham are nowhere near done, which is what I was maybe saying earlier. It's a bit early to be throwing your toys out the pram and, deciding, Tottenham's transfer window after this one deal. Fabrizio Romano, very busy boy today, has come out and assured us that there will be more. And hopefully, we go after them positions with a lot more gusto about it, Jerome. Central striker. Look, everyone knows my feelings on that. I made it clear last season before we even sold Harry Kane all the way through. Everyone knows that I think we need one up front, and there's going to have to be a good amount of money spent on it. And same with another winger coming into this football club. That forward line has to be revamped with quality. Look, I don't agree with the Werner deal. I can understand why some people would say, look, decent squad player, whatever. I don't agree with it, but look, Fabrizio Romano has said there's more to come, Jerome, and hopefully he's right on that matter. But look, we were told coming out of the back end of the season, Tottenham be looking to sign 4 or 5 players plus offload, a lot as well. So we're nowhere near done. What I will say is maybe it's just kicking it off.
And on Eze, Jerome, he's one of Dave and I's big targets for the summer. He's been a guy that I've been a huge fan of for a long time. I'm being optimistic about that one happening because the agents are very closely connected with Spurs. I think he's CAA agent based, which gives us a leg up. We also know that his agents were, in fact, kind of given a bit of a party or kind of a bit of a nice showing the last time that he went to the Spurs stadium. So when he played us at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it looked like his family or friends or his agents or something were kind of given a bit of a show in kind of the Spurs box. So you take with that what you will, right? And then the other point being is friends with guys like Sonny, lived in London for a very long time, right? He probably has lots of, established bases, things here. It would kind of make sense if he wanted to move to a big club, he could then still stay in London, and Spurs would be one of those options for him then. So I think there's a lot of things that could make this Eze deal happen this summer. Not saying it will, but there's a lot of things that wouldn't get in our way. There's very few things that would get in our way apart from ourselves.
And also, wasn't Sonny not very close to him sort of after the game at our home stadium? Correct. And stuff like
doing
that.
Some rizzing.
So let's hope Eze happens with CAA base. A lot of our players have been sort of with them over the years. So let's hope we can make that one happen, Jerome. And look, I'm with you. I find the Werner one completely underwhelming. Like Jack said, you'll hear more of my thoughts on the video as well, Jerome. I just hope this isn't the ambition that we're going in with next season for the forward line. I completely agree with you on that. And hopefully we sign Eze. Big up, Jerome. Really appreciate the support, my man.
Thanks for the support.
We've got this from Hotspur Hood. With this decision Ange has made, now Ange out, just another yes man, or really is clueless on what a good player is because it isn't Werner. Look, look, people can make their own decisions whether they want to be Ange in, Ange out and stuff like that. What I will say is not every manager gets every single signing 100% spot on, and even more so at Tottenham Hotspur as well, with their sort of wages and the transfer budget pool that they have to operate in. But look, you could be Ange out if you want. That's no problem at all, my man. I'm definitely not. I'm still behind the project. I still believe in Ange. And I do think there's been progress from last season into this season. I think, look, I get where you're coming from. You're pissed off with the ownership and stuff like that. But and so am I. But, it's like we automatically then go after the managers. Surely we should be actually doubling down and backing the managers to make even more of a point to the ownership. That's where I'm a bit maybe lost on that one. But look, Ange out, that's where Hotspur Hood is at. I wonder, is there anyone else in the similar category after that signing? Let us know in the comments below. But look, we are getting down to the last 4 guests of the evening. I believe the next one on is Shawnee Maddox. Let's hear what he has to say, because I did see earlier on in the chat that there was something he wanted to bring up. So let's hear. Sorry, Jack, am I wrong?
Sorry, I have a lot of noise outside. But yes, Dave, I think he agreed with you about something with Tyrese Hall or something, if I remember correctly.
Let's hear what he has to say. Big up, Shawnee.
Hey, I'm doing well. No, finally got out of my meeting that went over half an hour. So...
Well, they didn't know that you're about to drop some bars to Dave about the youth academy. So is that where you wanted to start then, Sean? While that, I'm not sure if you want to start with Timo, because we've unfortunately started everybody off that way. Maybe you would like to go someplace different.
I have just a quick line on Werner. Again, I think that Werner, if it allows us to spend more elsewhere, it is less infuriating. So we can't really judge that one until we see the full window. Again, if they go in and they get us that 60 to 70 mil striker, we don't all agree on exactly who it should be. I really like the look of Openda and Sesko. Other people have other kind of opinions on who the right striker is. But if we go out, we invest in a top kind of striker that's established or highly, highly promising that we think will fit the system. We get that 6 in. Again, I think we're looking at potentially Ederson, Polina, or some of the, I think 2 of the fan favorites. And we get those players in, and then we look at, okay, what's a left back, a winger, address some of those other problem areas. It's hard to then be mad that they extended a loan for Werner if they address the other areas well. It's if they then essentially just don't spend elsewhere in the squad, that's when you start getting mad if they go cheap. Again, I think last summer we got half the fan base was pissed off when they signed Vicario and didn't sign David Raya. Vicario's been the best keeper in the league this season. So again, we had to trust the transfer team, let them do their job before we start evaluating the window as a whole. And again, I think that if we can get those priority positions right, what I want to see then is us to start to look to bring through those youngsters and get them involved. That was where I felt like maybe I was disappointed this season, was we didn't use them enough, especially when we had that injury crisis. Warrington and Donnelly would have been way better than Dyer, Davies, and Emerson at center back. So I think if we can kind of build that pathway going forward, again, we're Premier League 2 champs. That's the U21s. So I think this next season has to focus somewhat on integration, which means we don't need to sign as many players if the plan is to fill out the squad and give some of these youngsters an opportunity. Again, I think we've been seeing more in the U17s for England. He's the best player in England's team by far. Again, with the rest of the team is struggling, he gets the ball and he gets something done. So I want to see what that looks like if we can give him minutes off the bench. Again, I think when you saw what City did with Foden, where they kept him in the squad, they kept him around, they were like, here's 10 minutes, here's 10 minutes, here's 10 minutes. And then he was able to slightly develop and get longer and longer cameos. Arsenal did that with Saka. That's the way forward with these promising youngsters, is to keep them around and get them minutes. And we've started that. So the hope is that we don't make any kind of short-term signings that prevent that process. But I also think that Werner is not a position where we have as much strength out of the academy in that exact spot, where I'm not as concerned about him plugging a hole that we would fill later.
Do you know what, when it comes to these academy youngsters, just quickly, Shawnee, I was saying this on Sean's channel earlier, I think there's a big sort of narrative around, if you use the youngsters, it's going to cost you your job. I'd actually argue and say it saved some managers their job. Kobe Mainoo won the FA Cup for Man United, could keep Ten Hag in the job for another season. When Newcastle's injury crisis stacked up, they brought in Lewis Miley. It's given Eddie Howe time. When Pochettino came in as Spurs manager, it wasn't working out with the squad he had. He relied on the academy, brought players through. It brought him the time it needed heading into next season to really build and implement his philosophy, and sort of built his career off the back of it. So I think at Spurs, we have a complete different mindset towards it. And I actually put it down to more so the people inside the club. And I go off what Tim Sherwood said when it comes to Harry Kane. He said, I'm playing Harry Kane. And the board said, well, no, why would you do that? We paid Sadaldo. And Tim Sherwood tried to say to the board at the time, look, Sadaldo ain't cutting the mustard. I'm going to give Harry Kane the opportunity. And they couldn't understand why. They're like, but we paid for Sadaldo. And I think there's still that culture within the club. And I think there has to be a general shift with that and start trusting in some of these youngsters. I hear a lot of us going, let's go for Archie Gray. Let's go for this guy. Let's go for that guy. we've got a golden generation coming through that in my whole lifetime, keeping an eye on the academy and watching Tottenham, we haven't had sort of players coming through at that level that have won things at that age group and in the age group beforehand, the season before as well, coming through. And I think it's going to be a crime if we don't use these. And I do think we have to find a pathway. And look, Werner probably gives Mikey Moore another year for us to really develop him behind the scenes and stuff like that. But again, I'd rather give him the opportunities and then minutes than Timo Werner. He's not going to be here as a long-term solution. So it's a bit of a tricky one, Shawnee.
Yeah, no, and again, I think that with the amount of additional competitions, and again, if we're doing well in those cup competitions, we got a lot of games, we need that squad depth. Again, I think there should hopefully be enough chances, even with some Werner. And again, the thing is, what we're then doing is we're getting rid of Hill, we're getting rid of some of those other players that are clogging up those opportunities. So
True.
even if you bring in a few more kind of players, the amount of kind of fringe players that we're replacing, hopefully that's where you have the spot for those academy players, where they're coming in for some of those cameos. Because again, I don't think any of them are quite at the point of significant minutes just yet, but you give them those cameos and they can earn those minutes if they're good enough. But you need to at least give them the opportunity to prove whether or not they're good enough. Worst case scenario, they're not good enough. You send them back to the U21s. You bring someone in January to provide some more cover for that position. But again, I think the upsides are so much higher. We've seen all that investment in the academy. At this point, I feel like Levy would have to be arguing, we spent all this money on the academy, start playing these guys. Hopefully that's the shift, is they're like, oh, now we spent all the money on the youth players, you gotta start using them. And again, I think what we've seen is the best squads, the ones with the most success, have been the ones that have been making that pathway work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, I think that's the goal for next season, I think, is to fill out some of those key positions and leave space to incorporate some of the youngsters.
No, look, 100%. I think that's the next step. I think that'll be I'll be happy with that next season if we can integrate some of them guys. Look, not everyone's going to make it, but I think there's 2 or 3 that are definitely good enough to be given the opportunity. But Jerome also says here, like you said about filling out the squad, he says he hopes what Fabrizio Romano said is true about still looking at other areas of the squad, because he cannot have another disappointment. Ange needs some top players, and we need trophies next season. 17 years of hurt is long enough. Someone pointed out that it could be 16, that Jerome's put a bit of VAT on this. Look, I'm not going to argue. Tomato for me, potato for you. But I mean, where do you stand on that, Shawnee?
Well, no, again, I think we've seen that there were holes in the squad. We never got that striker like you asked, and then we sent all the other strikers out on loan. I mean, Felice didn't play, but if he was here, he at least could have provided a body up front, and we could have maybe seen what he could do. So again, I think there's a few really big key positions that we hope to see the investment in. And again, maybe one of those was winger, but that's one. I mean, there's a bit more, but again, I think it's really about finding the right fit, though. Again, we saw that if you let the transfer team do their job, they can find the right guys. Van de Ven was amazing this season. I mean, he's probably in contention for player of the season.
Yeah.
For me, again, I think Vicario, I would like to give some credit as one of our most important signings. Again, I don't think this system works without Vicario's ability to pass from the back and relieve some of that pressure. So I think he was as crucial as Van de Ven. So again, I think there's a lot of good work that's being done, and again, I think we have to sit back and trust the transfer team. They've earned the benefit of the doubt at this point.
I'm with you, Sean and Jerome. I'm feeling like in recent summer windows, yes, there will be kind of these disappointments or these flop signings here and there, but compared to the days of the Steve Hitchen man, I think we are in a much better pathway and have done much better work in identifying the right players for this manager, or even just for Spurs in the long run and in the long haul, because you look at the windows where we were actually spending around 150 million, 160 million, but just every single person we brought in now 3-4 years later, we've either moved on or are looking to actually move on. They've just turned out to be complete dead space of players. And I don't think Spurs have been doing that as much of recent. So I'm going to give them more the benefit of the doubt that they have at least somewhat of an idea, somewhat of a plan. Whereas before, under people like Steve Hitchen, I couldn't have given them that kind of benefit of the doubt. I couldn't have given them that kind of leeway because I knew that for the most part, the people that were making the decisions were just ill prepared and ill equipped and just didn't know what they're doing. Whereas now, Johan Lange, or Lange, Paratici, these sort of people in charge, I have a better feeling that Spurs will get most of it right. Don't get me wrong, though. We're Spurs, we're Tottenham. We'll find a way to get it wrong. We'll find a way to piss people off. It's just how we do business. But we definitely need to find a way to get Spurs fans feeling strong again about the direction and the pathway. And of course, trophies is the right way to do that. Can Ange do that next season? I hope he can, but I'm still kind of in the early stages of patience here. Even then, I think to be promising trophies, I think the next season is going to be a tall order to ask. Maybe he'll have to really go for the Europa League or really go for one of the domestic cups. But I agree with you. I think Spurs fans need to get that off their back. But I trust the process more than I ever did in years gone by. I think now with Paratici, people like Lange, I'm trusting the process more than I used to. At least that's just me.
If United can win the FA Cup with their current squad, there's no reason that we can't win it.
It just shows they're lucky and we're not. I think that's a big part of it as well.
Again, I think a lot of it comes down to just getting the buy-in and making sure we're putting out the best team in some of those, or at least a strong team in those competitions where, again, I think the depth comes in. But I also think those academy players will be hungrier than the fringe players that have shown us that they cannot do it when relied upon.
Mm.
I'd much rather lose because we gave an opportunity to those academy kids because they'll at least learn from it and improve. That won't happen with the 26, 27-year-olds who have finished developing. So again, I think we have a lot of prospects that are hopefully coming through again. So I think this season we got fifth, we got European football. My expectation was that I wanted to finish in a Europa League spot. We've achieved that, so I can't be too upset. And again, I think we're seeing a plan and kind of a style of football that's interesting and exciting, and that's what I wanted was European football and us to play some attacking, free-flowing football. Mm-hmm. So I think the season went about as well as we could have expected for the first year of a rebuild. Maybe slightly ahead of schedule.
Do you feel like that maybe the 8s and 9s out of 10s that most people would have given the season, Sean, though, took a slight hit when they saw a club like Man United, who were dreadful for the whole season, then their party atmosphere on one of the last and final days of the campaign, and now they're saying on TalkSport, yeah, it was worth it. It was a great season. All this stuff, and we know that isn't even true.
Maybe what I would say is that Man United team was not quite as I think that we're honestly a little bit further along in certain aspects of that squad. I think they had a lot of guys who individually could change a game where, especially with our squad depth and the injuries, we didn't have that many players. Like Maddison never really got back to full form after that injury. Again, I think Basuma was my flop of the season. Again, he just kind of fell off a cliff after the Luton game where he never got back into form, which is, again, why I think we need that 6 so badly, was because that was such a crucial position, is that when we lost essentially that dominance there, we couldn't balance our midfield. And I think it left us a little more vulnerable. So again, I think that with some more competition brought in, a few more holes filled, again, I don't think we'll have kind of that same level of drop off. So again, I think, and with any luck, we bring in a player like Eze a few more of that quality level, we hopefully have some more guys that can grab the game by the scruff of the neck on their own, regardless of how well the rest of the team is playing. And again, a top striker can also do that. So that's where we're needing that investment, because we need that player that can just go on there and be like, no, I refuse to lose this game. I'm going to go out and win it.
Yeah.
And we'll just go and make something out of nothing. And again, I think Son has that potential, but you need more than one player who can do that, because if Son can't do it on the day, who's going to go out and win that game? That was the benefit. You had Son, you had Harry Kane, you had like Modric or Bale or someone back in the day. You had a few of those guys that could do that. And so I think that's where we need to kind of that depth, is we need some guys who can all go out and individually affect the game. So
I hear you, Sean. I hear you. Just for the sake of time, because I don't want to rudely kick you off without, providing these answers for us. Your player of the season, did you give us that?
I think it's just got to be Vicario. Again, I think he just kind of kept this machine ticking despite all of the injuries in front of him. Again, there were games that he kept us in. Again, I think we were probably mid-table if he was not pulling off some of the saves and kind of the level. Again, I think it's really more about just getting everything kind of moving the same direction. I think we're going in the right direction. So there's a lot of optimism going forward.
Well, we can usually count on you for seeing at least some reason to be optimistic about the summer, Sean. So we appreciate that. And thanks for a great season, man. You've been a great addition to this year, to this family, to this community. And I think a lot of people are very happy that you joined us, and you've been a part of things this year. So we're very thankful for you, Sean. Thank you, sir.
No, it's been a fun year, and again, hopefully next season is even more fun. Get some of those European games to watch.
Yes, sir.
Gabe from going too bored during the midweek.
Exactly.
Same as going crazy. And we'll have under 21s in Europe as well. So we've got double European games next season.
There'll be too many games next season, if anything.
Too many, exactly.
That's what we want. But Shawnee, big yourself up, my man. Thank you very much. And we'll see you again very, very soon. All right.
Sounds good. Take care.
Same to you. Have a good evening, my man. Bye-bye.
Bye, Sean. Pick up.
Bye.
Good guy.
Yeah, big up, Shawnee. Very good guy. I like Shawnee. He's got good enthusiasm for the youngsters. Just quickly, I mean, Mike, look, people are more than entitled to their own opinions. I just hate this, that every time, something hasn't happened that people don't like, agitators feel like the need to go around and start having a go at other people and causing division and stuff like that. If you think we're going to get drawn into that, we're way too experienced for that now at this point. Not going to do that. We're not what we're here for. We're here to listen to people's opinions. And we also live in a world where people can have opinions that you don't have to agree with, but you don't have to, hate them and call them out and stuff like that. I think it's absolute nonsense. If you want to get your kicks, fuck off somewhere else and get them. You ain't going to get them here. And that's the last thing I'm going to say to you. Just quickly, we've got this from Jerome. He says, I just hope that is true, boys, because I cannot take another disappointment. Ange needs some top players, and we need trophies next season. 17 years of hurt is long enough. Look, I agree. I'm at the point, I think most people are at the point. That's where, people don't have patience for the manager, the director of football, the scouts, everything else, because we're at the point where it's been so long without a trophy. We don't even know what's good and what's bad anymore. It's getting to that point. But I did say with Paratici, I think in terms of recruitment, you're going to see a change, and we are seeing that. And I stick by that. I think he's done very good in recruitment-wise. I just think the next step is for us to actually give a manager the opportunity to show that, our recruitment has been spot on and stuff like that, and not knee-jerk and sack them every single season and go into the new season with another guy. We sit here and moan that the owners ain't going to pay 400 or 500 million to sort out problems in one summer, yet we sack managers like Chelsea were doing under Sugar Daddy Abramovich. Okay, you didn't do it. Next guy off the rank, in you come. We don't have that sort of squad. So, you have to give a manager time to cook, but no one wants that to happen, Jerome. Look, each to their own, but I think that's where we need to go with that, Jerome. Big yourself up, my man, and really appreciate support. And big up Mr. Nightbridge as well. Evening, lads.
How are you, Martin?
we're all good, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well as well, lad. Have a good evening, sir. I'll give you a ring during the week as well, lad. Hopefully you're keeping well.
Big up, man.
Big up, Martin. Right, Jack, where are we off to now?
Let's keep it moving. Big up to Martin Knightsbridge. And by the way, I thought of you when I saw, I think it was like I think it was like the Golden Boot winner or something for Spain gets like, an award with like a Spanish beer, as the sponsor. So it just made me think of you for a second there, Martin. When I was thinking of Spanish beer immediately, you were my second thought immediately afterwards. So big up to you, sir. And let's keep it moving, though. Dave is right. We have Daniel Larson, Daddy Larson. We have Paul after that. Sam is going on after that. And then I think it would be the last one would be Tyler, the Big T, who I kept forgetting to mention in the list. So sorry about that, Tyler. I wasn't ignoring you. And then we have Spurs GCTV, member for 6 months, saying, everyone, please smash the likes and sub to these guys. They put in loads of effort, provide great quality viewing. Come on, you Spurs. Thanks, Spurs GCTV. It's been a long season, but believe it or not, Dave and I are actually going to try to start working even harder this summer. I think we're going to, we had, I think even at one point, a bit of a blip where, yes, we were putting up the content and things like that, but we could have been going harder. We could have, provided even better stuff for you guys. And we're going to try to get back to some sort of, consistency that we can all handle, that you guys can handle as well, because we don't want you guys to, feel like that, you're just waiting for content. We want there to be something for you guys to be able to watch. So we appreciate you for your support. Thanks for being a member, but we promise to do even better by you in the future.
Yeah, no, 100%. Look, a lot more consistency coming your way, a lot more top quality content, stuff that we do put out over the season. We're going to make sure it's out on the exact same time every single week, and stuff like that for you guys. Look, I'm sure you'll understand, you have things outside of life, outside of YouTube, that's beyond your control and stuff like that. That makes sometimes difficult and all, but do not worry about that. We're going to hit the stratosphere next season with all your guys' help out there. So hopefully you can help make that happen with us. But just quickly as well, as much as we say it's a long season for us content creators, I was thinking about this earlier. The amount of people that I see in so many different channels as well at all hours, it's absolutely madness. Long season for you guys too, and the support you give everybody. So, that doesn't go unnoticed. So big yourself up and really appreciate 6 months, my man. Let's see if we can make it 12 Spurs GCTV. Big yourself up. Right, Jack, where are we off to? What part of the world?
Daniel Larson. He's up next, bringing the Daddy Larson. Then we have Paul after.
Let's get him on. Big up, Daniel. How are you keeping, sir?
Good.
Good to have you back. And it's a weird one, Daniel, because we're going to force you to talk about Timo Werner, whether you like to or not. And then we also have to have you wrap up the season for us. So where would you like to start? Wrap up the season or talk about Timo?
We can start with Timo, I guess.
Yep. What do you thought? Do you agree with Dave? Do you agree with other people?
I'm like the one. I don't care too much about it at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
If of course we don't buy someone better in the summer, then I'm gonna care about it. That's the only reason. He's a good enough man to have on the bench. Come in in the second half, run a tired legs.
Mm-hmm.
For me, good super sub. I think it could be.
So you're like in the camp of no strong opinions yet.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
no,
yeah,
not yet. Yeah,
mm.
and it's sad though because with all this, like he's just joined again, I suppose, and of course all the hate. I wouldn't say hate, but the disappointing comments he gets. It's sad to see because why? You don't need to. It's unnecessary for that for me.
Yeah, and what could Timo be thinking when he's looking at the Fabrizio Romano, quote tweets to all of this? The poor guy, like I said, he's been here less than 6 months, and he's being used as the metaphor for everything that's gone wrong for Spurs in the last 20 years. You kind of feel bad for the guy. It's like, geez, I haven't done that much wrong. Clearly, that I should be used in that way. But Spurs fans are frustrated, and they see him as like an example of things that we've done wrong in the past, though, Daniel. Do you see where they're coming from on that, or do you feel like it's kind of everyone's just jumping way too early on where the summer window is going to go? Because they think it's by signing someone like Timo Werner early, they think it's going to be a very Daniel Levy style window, cheap signings, not backing the manager properly enough. Does it stink of that to you, or you just don't want to make your mind up on that yet?
It doesn't stink for me because since he's here basically, I think we're just just get it done quickly. There's no point of dragging it out. If you're gonna wait long, it's just what's the point of that? So for me, he was there, get it done. We want him. He wants to stay. Yeah, you know.
Well, it sounds like you kind of don't have the strongest opinions on Timo, so I don't really need
No.
to force you to eat your vegetables for that long,
He
Daniel
just needs to
Larson.
learn. He just needs to go on the training ground a lot and finish. That's all he needs to do, really.
Yeah, I agree
Finish.
and then he can work on some more dance moves with Dave, hopefully for the
Yeah.
summer, for some more murder on the dance floor. Priorities for this summer, Daniel. We put out a video, kind of, few different ones, and it's something we'll do this summer. So what are your areas of the squad you'd like to strengthen, certain positions you want to see strengthened, and then certain departures, if you have any, that you'd like to see happen, like any controversial ones, maybe?
Oh yeah, I got one, of course, and that's Basuma. If a good offer comes for him, I would let him go.
Wow, you're gonna make Dave sad with that one, Daniel. Tell us why. What is it about Basuma that is he your big flop of the season? I'd assume then, right? What's he done wrong?
Yeah, I just think the drop off of the quality needs to be studied in university of football, because I've never seen anything like it. I mean, how can you be How can he was probably the best, I don't know, 6 or whatever you call it, in the league up to that point, and then now it's one of the worst. How? Stop! I'm just so pissed because I loved him at Brighton. I absolutely adored him. I was when we signed him, I was like, what the hell? And seeing him now, it's like watching your, loved one at the deathbed, for fuck's sake. It just, no. So for me, good offer, and it seems like the club or Ange or the club is thinking that as well, because I saw someone, if good offers come in for him, then you would be open to let him go. I think, theories, I suppose, but.
I like that hot take, and I like that joke, by the way. That was a very funny joke.
Yeah, thank you.
That should be studied.
Sometimes
it'll land. I'm the same way. What were you about to say, though? I interrupted you.
And also, I was thinking about it, but I think I'm not now. Was Kulusevski? I was actually thinking if good offer for him, but no, not anymore. I think that was a little bit too far.
You were holding yourself back.
Yeah, I was holding because that was before the. What was the last game? It was. I can't remember. It was Sheffield United. I was like, but after that game, I was like, okay, he can still play. He just needs to, or he also needs to improve a lot.
Well, I'd kind of move you then on to areas of the squad that you probably want to be strengthened then, Daniel. So is it, what's your like non-negotiable? Like, what's your absolute must of players that we need to bring in? It doesn't even need to be names unless you had one, but areas of the squad that need strengthening.
Well, midfield, definitely. And for me, the one that I completely, I didn't know too much about, but it's Ederson from Atalanta. After that Europa League final, I was like,
he's a beast defensively.
Yeah, he was amazing. And apparently it's been like that all season, I've heard. So it wasn't like one-off game. So if we could get that, it's hard, of course, but then I will definitely try. And other than that, I would, of course, 2 new fullbacks, backups, of course. For left back, we need that, and someone who is like close to as good as both we have. I don't want anyone that's average. Someone who can actually fight for places.
True meaning of competition. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when we bought Davis when he was first bought him, and Trippier, Walker and Rose lift up their games as well because of that, and they fought. So I want to see something similar there again.
Okay.
And for striker, striker for me, I struggle with because it's so hard. I can't really think of one that is like world class we can get really. And Richie's been really good. If he can stay, I mean, his injuries have been a little bit issue with. He's been a little bit injury prone, in my opinion. But if we don't, except for, and I know it's hard because of his, what's it called? Attitude. Ivan Toney. He's a really good player, but of course he has struggled with attitude problems. And of course, the gambling thing. Who knows if that's going to come up again?
Well, I kind of agree with you, Daniel, that there's no convincing, obvious candidates for striker. I think it's actually just a matter of preference and a matter of opinion of what sort of one you think is most ready actually for Spurs. Because I think a lot of them, they all share talent. They all have similar attributes that could make sense for the role, but they also all are kind of missing maybe a certain thing that we're looking for in the role. So it's just which one can actually fill it the best for right now and then also for the future in time. I also had some questions, though, Daniel, on the season in general. So your flop of the season, your surprise of the season, and your player of the season. Can I have those?
Yeah, flop, of course, Basuma, probably. Yeah, Basuma, I think we got to go for. Not flop. I think Brad said, I don't really like the word flop. Disappointment, I would say. I think that's a little too harsh. But surprise is going to go for, I'm going to go for two. I think Ondoji and Van de Ven for me.
Udogie and Van de Ven. I know you were very, I think a lot of people love to Mickey Van de Ven straight away. But if I remember, actually, you were very big on Mickey Van de Ven from the very, very beginning stages this season, Daniel. In fact, you might even gotten a Van de Ven kit. Is that right?
Yeah, I do have.
You were the one who got the Van de Ven kit very early. So,
and
I did, sorry.
I did say like he could be the surprise because if he kicked off running straight away, it would be amazing. And I was actually right one time in my life.
I'd love to look back at some of the members' predictions, look back at that fan show episode, see which ones people had some sneaky hot opinions on, like yourself there. Because I remember you were a big Van de Ven fan before. I think he really blew up in the way that he did. But I'm trying to think of maybe last one moment of the season, final game of the season. What was like your favorite moment of the season as well, Daniel?
Oh, so what's the moment of the season?
This one's hard for me too.
Yeah.
Because we didn't ever win a trophy, no semifinals or anything like
and
that.
We didn't really,
it's hard.
Yeah, we didn't really win anything against. I mean, God. I guess
someone
just
said
like
Newcastle 4-0. Did you like getting revenge over Newcastle?
Yeah, that was good. That was really good.
But they took it back up for satisfaction.
Yeah, again,
they took it back. That's right. They did.
Moment of the sea, actually, I'm going to go for Son offside goal against Chelsea.
Changed the season anyway, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Brad was bringing up those moments of memory, and it was like, geez, Brad's memory, I was already very impressed by, but also the way he described those moments in time, you really were like, geez, yeah, had it gone differently, he is right. So that was very good of him.
Yeah, Aston Villa as well. That was really good. Just sad what happened after that, because I thought when we won 4-0 against Villa, after that we should drop off completely. So that was sad as well.
Daniel, I'm kind of out of questions. Did you have any other things that you wanted to talk about here this evening? Emerson Royale, my favorite ever player, is going to be leaving.
Yeah.
AC Milan agents are talking with him. I'm not sure if you had any opinion about that. There's that we could talk about, unless you had something else you want to talk about.
Yeah, with Emerson, I'm a little bit sad because of him personally, because I really like his personality. Of course, not a really good footballer, but I think he should get some credit for when he played at centre back, because he did a really good job when everyone was injured and he had to step in there, in my opinion. I remember the game against Burnley in the Cup, he was man of the match, centre back. It was amazing. That's, going to give him some credit, but I think it's time to move on for him.
Just when I thought that all of you guys were on the Emerson train with me, and now everybody's leaving, felt like I had my moment.
Jumped off.
Everybody jumped off. Showed that you were all faking it. Your Emerson love. Only kidding. But yeah, Daniel, unless you had any final words, then I really have enjoyed the season with you, man. It's been another great one, and thanks for not getting too annoyed with us, or still not hating us after this stage of the season. And we appreciate you, man. It's been a great year.
Yeah, just we would again, after the season settled, I know it was some mixed emotions there, but now after settled, it's been a good season overall. It's been far better than I thought, with the league, of course, finishing 5th. So yeah, I'm really hopeful for the future with Ange.
Yeah, me too.
And also also with the under 21s now winning the league, their league. So already our next generation is getting that winning formula imprinted on them.
Yeah, Dave. Oh.
Oh.
Well, we got some good talents coming through, man. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to Dave's many more under 21 watch alongs and his updates and that sort of thing. And as I'll repeat myself again, if just for Dave in case you come back in time. But thanks again for being with us for another season, Daniel. You're like Brad. You're like so many Dermot that have been with us for a long, long time, man. So we do appreciate you not getting sick of us and, actually representative of this fan show, which I think has brought many new people, and you've been a good ambassador for it. So thank you, sir.
No problem. I mean, you guys have made sport in this club much better for me, so it's no problem.
Okay. Daniel, I'll have Dave. Oh, maybe he's back in here in just a sec. He'll say his goodbyes to you and hope to see you throughout the summer. But yeah, Dave, we're just saying our goodbyes to Daniel.
Yeah, no, sorry about that. I've been lagging everywhere, so I just want to log out and log back in and reset it. But Daniel, really appreciate your contributions over this season. You've made me laugh at times when it's been toughest, so I do appreciate that, my man. And make sure you keep coming back to visit us over the summer and that, lad, and into next season. Thank you for not getting pissed off with us so far. It's been like nearly 3-4 years now, and you're still about. So I appreciate it, man.
I'm a lover, not a hater.
Thanks, sir. All right, Daniel. Have a good rest of your week.
Take care, guys. Yeah.
See ya.
Come on, you Spurs. Goodbye, bye.
Enjoy the rest of your Timo day.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye, bye.
Actually, looks like a decent evening where he is. To be
the
brutally
sun's
honest,
not going down anytime soon. Where he is, the sun is not going down anytime soon. We're reaching that period of the year. But Daniel, I really loved his Basuma. As much as I disagree with because Dave and I are definitely much more protectors of Basuma. I thought his Basuma joke was actually quite funny. If anybody wanted to go back to it, but keep things moving. Thank you again for everybody that's still on with us, still waiting in line. Paul, Sam, Tyler, you guys, absolute rock stars for being very patient. Keep things moving here. And anybody else, I think Dave and I do like to say this, anybody else that has been saving the link, please use it now. If you haven't already, it just gives us a better idea of who's left so that we do know that it's these last 3 guests and we're not, making anybody wait too long or even making ourselves wait too long or something like that. So we're going to Sebas. Hey, Sebas, member for 15 months, says, guys, thanks for all the therapy sessions, lol. Come on, you Spurs. Thanks for letting me annoy you the other day, Sebas. He and I had some beers, Dave, chatted about the season. He also had some great, advice for us and everything for the channel and everything like that. And he's a good guy, this guy, Sebas, everybody. So if you ever run into a handsome looking man, around Long Island, you know who to talk to. He's the guy. He's the Spurs fan. He's been with Spurs for a long time. He's been through far more pain than even I have. So I'm glad that I can provide you some therapy, Sebas. And like many of the others, I'm quite surprised even that you even wanted to hang out with me, that I haven't, made you that sick of us or anything, that you even wanted to hang out. So big up to this guy.
Why do I have a feeling Sebas Wolf is a biker?
He is a biker.
Is he? Okay, I don't know why. I have that feeling. Maybe I've seen a picture a while ago or something like that. I can't be quite sure, but I just have a feeling he's a biker. So big up, Sebas Wolf. Little bike gangs around Ireland, seem to be popular still over here, But honestly, as much as the therapy happens one way, it also works the other way. I mean, you guys validate some of my feelings on things sometimes. Sometimes you say, look, Dave, you got that completely wrong, So, look, it's all one big therapy session. That's all this is, and I really appreciate it, Sebas.
And by the way, I think if I were to speak for Sebas, and I'm probably going to get it wrong, but I do know he is also not, he's kind of in that camp as well, Dave. For the Timo camp, he's in the camp of he's not totally excited by it, but he doesn't really get the outrage. He's one of those where he doesn't get the outrage, but is not. I think he basically said to me, I'm not going to lose any sleep over Timo. And what's so funny is basically the next day, of course, the Timo signing happened. So, wasn't even happening. We didn't know anything about it. And then the next day we spoke it into existence. It felt like. So big up.
Well, if anyone does have any techniques on helping me sleep with the Werner news tonight, please get them in the chat below, because I'm going to struggle with that one tonight. We've gone from Harry Kane to Timo Werner, so please give me some sleeping mechanisms in the chat. That'd be awesome. And big up Dermatron renewing his membership. Really appreciate that, brother. top man. But look, let's keep it moving. We'll go on for about another half an hour. We'll give everybody about 10 minutes each, and then we'll end off because, you know, I need to get to bed early so I can keep walking and keep losing these pounds in the off season. You know, the ones that I put on over the course of the season with all my kebabs, I have to go through pain during the summer so I can do it all again next season. But look, let's keep it moving. I believe the next guest we have on is the one and only Paul. How are you keeping, my man? You're on mute, first of all, before you go any further. Back on mute. There we are. How are you keeping? I can't hear you.
For some reason, I can't hear you though, Paul. Try to see the little settings button. Try the little settings button. See if the mic is like registering or if it's selected to the right mic. Got some people. Big up to Nick Carey. Really appreciate your support. Steve Combo, Meta Football TV, Daryl Bradford.
I'll give you a minute there, Paul. Just keep messing around.
Just heard something.
Go again.
Try again, Paul. Hello.
Okay, so we can hear him, but it's not in sync with the picture.
Hey.
That doesn't matter. That's fine. Keep going, my man.
Hey,
How
Paul.
are you?
I'm all right. You guys all right?
Yeah, keeping well as can be.
What,
I mean,
I'm going to come off and I'm going to change my headset.
Okay.
I think you
just use the.
I think you're better now. I think you're both lagging. That's the problem.
I'll log out and log back in again. Leave Paul there. I'll log out.
Is it good for you, Jack?
I think, yeah, it's a little better for me. Can you hear me, Paul? Is that all right?
Yeah, I can hear you. All good.
Okay. Maybe you and Dave are just kind of lagging a little bit behind me or something. What would probably be better is if you and Dave are just talking to each other, because then you guys might be more in sync. But Paul, I think we can hear you at least. So take it away, sir. End of the season wrap up. Timo Werner. I think we've been starting off with Timo Werner, so I'm going to force you to start there.
To me, it's another loan. It seems like the club hasn't got the confidence to sign him permanently. And it's like they want to see more. And it's like maybe they're using him as a stopgap. In other words, we're not going to spend 15 million on you because we're not quite confident and we've got enough that we need to get rid of already without adding another one. So maybe he's just there to fill a hole for now until something else comes along. Obviously, we had a lot of injuries up top last season. You know, maybe he's just there to do that, basically cover for the likes of Sonny and stuff when he's away and or he's injured or anything like that. Obviously, we've got a lot more games next season, you know, than we have this season. So a lot more players are going to get a lot more time. So therefore, potential of more injuries. So I can see why the club have done it. Am I excited about it? No.
And also, Paul, I know you hate the word backup, right? If I remember you correctly.
Yeah, he does.
Yes,
so
I do.
Is Timo Werner a backup signing? Am I harsh by calling it that?
Well, effectively, he is a backup. And as much as I hate that word, he's not somebody who you think, wow, he's going to be in the starting 11 or competing to be in the starting 11. You know, when we've got a fully fit team, he doesn't get into that 11 at all. You know, he doesn't even push to get into that 11. What I want to see from him this year is pushing to get into that 11. You know, we know there's a player there. We've seen it. But can he do it consistently? Can he bring that up another level and do it week in, week out in the top league in the world? That's what I want to see from him next season. If he does that, then we've got a bargain. If not, we've lost nothing. We send him home.
Some people also think he's more of a stopgap for people like Mikey Moore, Donley, talented wingers and attackers that could come through the academy, right? Not sign somebody that you're going to end up regretting because you're, you know, not giving then enough opportunities to someone else who probably deserves it. So could you see it as that, as a stopgap maybe for the younger players to come through eventually?
I think that's what this season's about, which is why I think they've done it as a loan instead of actually triggering the option to buy. I think because this season we're going to see the likes of those younger players coming through from the under 21s, and you're going to start seeing them getting more minutes, especially in the likes of the Carabao Cups. You know, maybe the early stages of the Europa League. You know, we're going to start seeing these players come out like Lancashire, Donnelly. You know, Mikey Moore will probably feature quite a bit. You know, we've also got, and everyone's forgetting, we've got Bergville coming in as well, you know, who's also quite young. So there's going to be plenty of minutes around for these guys to stake their place in the first team next year. I think this season was a bit harsh on Ange, saying he couldn't get, he needs to blood the youth and everything else. He had a team, he had basically 24 players, which 15 or 16 of them we wanted to get rid of. And he played him in the Carabao Cup against Fulham, and look where that got him. We were out in the first round. Exactly.
Must have been gone. Yeah.
To me, it's kind of, there wasn't enough games to blood these youngsters in the sense, because you couldn't leave the likes of Romero, Van der Ven, Udogie. You couldn't put these guys on the bench to blood these youngsters like a backup left back or coming through on the right backs. You couldn't do it, because then they'd be like, well, why am I here? You've got to keep your best players happy. And when you've only got 40 games in a season, of course, he's going to play his best 11 every week, and there's going to be players there that are going to be pushing and knocking on the door to get in the first team. So I get why he didn't play it, because we just didn't have enough games to play them, which is why
I hear that. I hear that to a certain extent. I do think there was a period where we had a lot of injuries, where he could have turned to some of the youngsters instead of turning to some of the players who, look, quite frankly, I know when they come in, I don't expect much because I know they're going to let me down. And it's been like that year in, year out. And I just think that's where Ange maybe could have went with something a little bit different. And actually, I think it might have brought him a lot more time come the end of the season, a lot more patience, because I do think fans would be a lot more sort of patient when they're seeing youngsters that are coming through the academy that they have an affiliation to, giving them more time than what they would. Like, for instance, everyone threw the toys out of the pram after the Fulham game. I understand Ange had to have a look at them and stuff like that. I get it. But then when it came to the FA Cup, he should have went different suit and brought in some of the youngsters and given them their opportunity, because, fans lose patience when it's the likes of Davies back out there again, when it's the likes of other players back out there again. That's where fans lose patience, because it's like, well, we've seen this before. Why is the manager falling for the same tricks under every other manager and stuff like that? Whereas if he actually used somebody, I think he would have bought himself a hell of a lot more patience. Poch bought himself time when he turned to the academy that time.
I get what you mean about turning to the academy in that sense.
Poch had a bigger squad to work with. Poch just had the balls to turn around and isolate some of them completely.
And I think this is what Ange was trying to do, but in a different way. I think he's trying to prove to the board and saying, look, you've given me these players, I've played them, and we lose. We're out of a cup, we can't win, they can't stay, they have to go. Maybe he used those sort of games to show, look, I need investment. I need this. I can't do what you want me to do because these players are in the way. I need them gone. Maybe that was a message to the board. I don't know. Maybe he was doing it a different way. But I do expect him to use more youth next season, with more games, Europa League, especially in the Carabao Cups and stuff like that. In both cups, we've hit Premier League teams, which is, very early stages. It'd be nice to see if, get a couple of like League One Championship teams maybe in the early rounds of the Cups, get those confidence built up, get those young players out, get them winning games and see how they get on.
Well,
look, that PL2 win really excited me. The way they were playing. And I know you're saying, I get your point about Lancashire, as you said, with 30 odd goals and he could have scored 60. Yeah. But again, I think that's because, he's trying to push into the first team but so if he's getting his numbers, and he gets a service from the wingers, maybe, he might be able to put them in. But we're not going to know until he comes in. Harry Kane, loans out, didn't really work for him. They never worked for him. And I think as a club, we're loaning out players far too quickly. When we should be looking at these players and going, do you know what? They've had a really good season. We can blood them in ourselves instead of giving the likes of, a championship team, lower league, League One. Yes, it might be good competition, might toughen them up a bit, but they're losing a year to 2 years around that first team squad where they could potentially break into it.
Do you know what? I think the loan market is something that I think Tottenham have got wrong over the last few years, or especially for about a decade now, loaning their youngsters out to clubs. And what I mean by that is they're loaning them out to clubs who are looking to fill a 25-man roster, and maybe they're the 23rd, 24th guy on it, where the opportunities are never really going to be there for them to really sort of nail down an opportunity. What I like what they've done with Plymouth is the guy that came in at Plymouth worked with Devine and worked with Phillips at underage England level. So they were going there, guaranteed they were going to play, and actually put them out there in an environment where they can develop. And I think that's something that Spurs really need to look at. Stop loaning them out to clubs as the 23rd, 24th, 25th man on the roster, and actually put them to a club that says, he's our guy, he's going to be our guy up front, we're going to look to develop off him, play off him, etc. You know, and hopefully we get that right, because we've had good players come through, like Dane Scarlett. He scored loads of goals coming through, but we sent him out to squads where he was just filling the roster rather than actually being guaranteed a lot of minutes and stuff like that. So that really needs to change.
That's been our biggest problem. You know, we'll send these young, talented players off. By the time they get to a point where they could be coming into the first team, they've had 4 or 5 loans and they don't look the same player. It's like they've lost the passion for the game because they're not getting played. They're not playing week in, week out. Whereas at least in the youth setup we have now, those players like the PL2, they've gone on, they've won that. You know, next season there'll be more coming through from the under-18s into that group, and I want to see some of that group start moving into our first team. Don't want to necessarily see them loaned out. You know, we're all going like you mentioned, Royal going out if he gets sold. If he gets sold, you know, maybe we don't need to look at somebody else. You know, we've got the likes of Ashley Phillips is a right-sided centre-back. You know, he likes to go forward. You know, why couldn't he play there? Give him a shot in that sort of across that back line. Or, you know, and have him there as a backup to Porro, because Porro's not going to be out. Hopefully he doesn't pick up a massive injury. But I think sometimes you got to take risks in that sense, because that's the chances these youngsters need. You know, instead of going, well, if we sell Emerson, we're going to bring in somebody else who's going to be a backup, and then we've got the same problem in 2 years' time to get rid of them. And then where do these players start coming into the team? You know, we've got to stop blocking these pathways off. So if we've got a really good player there that's, you know, got a really good injury record, don't back him up. Put one of the youth players there behind him, maybe. You know, give them the experience, give them the minutes, give them the run out, especially against the lower league teams or bottom half of the table teams. It's like likes of Ipswich coming up next season. You know, why not get them out against them? You know, give them a good 30, 40 minutes. Give them a really good run out. You know, that's where we can test these players. But if we keep filling these gaps behind the players, where does the youth come into it? Where does that pathway go? There isn't one, because there's always 2 or 3 players in front of them. So how do they get into the team? We keep going on about youth going, we need to get them in, but then we're going in the next breath going, oh, well, we need someone to back up Emerson Royale, or we need someone to back up Pedro Porro, or we think, why are we not looking to that youth team and providing that pathway? And I think that's where that breakdown between the first team and the second team is getting a bit thing. It needs to get a lot closer.
No, look, I completely agree with that. And very, very well summed up there, man, I must say. Look, what I will suggest to people is there's a documentary on Amazon right now called 99 about United's treble campaign. And, you know, the first parts of it, they sort of document how, you know, the class of what is it, 91 was sort of brought through into the first team. There's no ideal scenario. Alex Ferguson just said, look, guys, I need a change at this football club. In you come. And he stuck with them. They didn't start off and hit the ground absolutely running. But what it did do is, you know, they got there eventually. And look at the success it brought. Look at the stable, you know, dressing room it brought for well over a decade at Man United. And for me, I think it's a crime if we don't at least try and push through 2 or 3 of these guys. For me, every good dressing room has 2 or 3 guys that are homegrown, that holds everybody else accountable, you know, and stuff like that. So hopefully we can get that true. Ideally, you know, it's a blend between bringing in players and also realizing you've got a youngster there that, you know, and saying, look, here's your chance. We're going to give you the opportunity this season. It's up to you, and then see what happens from there. But look, Paul, great call, my man, and I really appreciate it. Actually, a really good call. You got a lot in there.
Yeah, I try to squeeze a lot in. Once my mic started working.
Enjoyed it, my man.
Yeah, Paul, actually, before we let you go, don't want to be rude. Can you give us your player of the season, please? And then we can let you go.
Mine has to be Van der Ven. There's just no 2 ways about it. When he come in, everyone was like, oh, we've gone cheap again. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. You know, but I was like, no, he's going to come in. He's going to do what he needs to do. And I think he proved everybody wrong.
Sure.
And now, you know, he's one of the best players in the Premier League. Yeah. So to me, not only can he defend, not only can he cover his own mistakes, but he can also score goals. And that Thunder Rocket against Forest yeah, I think the net's still rattling.
They had to get a new net afterwards.
Great strike.
Well done, Paul. Great anecdote at the end about Van de Ven. Thank you for a great season, sir. You've been a great addition to this year. Really have been. Like Sean, like many others, you've been a great addition to it. And we hope to have you back for next year. And thanks for supporting us. And thanks for not getting sick of us.
I'll always be here. I like following you guys. It's my favorite channel. So all good.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me on again. Much appreciated.
No, appreciate that. Yeah, we'll reach out over the summer, my man. And again, thank you for getting involved with us this season. Thank you for giving up your time to come on the fan shows and that. I've really enjoyed it. So thank you.
No, thank you guys. Paul. Keep up the good work and have a good one. Come on, you Spurs in the big Andrew Trust.
Have a good week. See you, Paul.
In the big Andrew Trust. See you, my man. Absolute great calling from Paul, actually. Really, really enjoyed that conversation. So, guys, big up Paul. Well, I don't need to tell you, people are already doing it, but big up Paul in the comments. A really, really good call. Really like Paul. You know, thank you for making yourself available this season and making yourself known. I really do appreciate that, brother. We've got this from Ellie, just a girl who loves Spurs, Huddle and Højbjerg forever. Two opposite jewels of our great club. One spotted by the greatest Bill Nicholson, and Jose Mourinho brings me my Viking and Queen Ellie Højbjerg born. Huddle born is the king of White Hart Lane. I mean, I'd kill for a player like Huddle now with that vision, that passing range. I mean, you know, people say, like, this is where I make the argument. I think football's or some of the players that was being produced in football is getting worse. And the reason why I say that is now someone with a passing range is a specialist. I mean, back then, Glenn Hoddle was a fantastic player, but there was also other players in the team that could spray them passes. He was just absolutely exceptional at it. Another Modric, I'd absolutely love someone like him as well. Absolutely great technician. Look, Højbjerg, completely different, more of a guy that sits there, breaks up the play. But you know what? I think many people overlook the service that this guy has given us and the players that he's had to play beside him. He sort of carried that midfield for a long time. And despite people saying, oh, you know, keep Winks, sell Højbjerg, you know, Højbjerg rose to that. Despite people saying, you know, keep Skip, sell Højbjerg, you know, Skip's the better player in the midfield. Højbjerg rose to that. And not only that, you know, he was brought in here basically being the mop-up guy behind Dele Alli, Ndombele, Lascelles, all three players who are no longer at this football club or won't be at this football club for much longer because they do not carry their weight. He's had a rough ride in that midfield and be the only guy to stick his head above the parapet and stand up and be counted when it was easier for him to fall in under and get away with the same excuses a lot of them other guys have done. I'll always respect him for that.
He's just a hard-nosed CDM, and there was a period when we really just needed something simple like that, and Jose brought that, and Jose needed that, and I think Højbjerg delivered. I think he actually weirdly improved more than people gave him credit for, because he was brought in as kind of your basic CDM, but I think he became more than that, actually, after that period with Jose. Of course, I'll leave that, though, to my emotional farewell video that I will provide, and Ellie would love to have you maybe collab in some way with that, because I know you're a much better person to give him a proper send-off, and even me, one of his biggest fans. And I'm wondering if you even sent this in, because you might have seen his Instagram post today. He was looking very good, Mr. Pierre, out with the pup. Yeah, I know, he looks Spanish with the pup, enjoying the summer, the hair's letting loose. Yeah, he's like, maybe he's getting ready for now. Let's go Madrid. Yeah, let's go. Exactly right. Big up, Ellie. And he's your Danish Viking, definitely very opposite to a King Hoddle, to a Glenn Hoddle, but he's a Danish Viking, and he did serve. I think he did serve Spurs well, and I know you'd agree. Big up.
And by the way, guys, Ellie hasn't been the greatest the last little while, so make sure you get in there, check up on her, wish her the very best of health as well, and really appreciate the support, Ellie. Look, like Jack said, we'll have to get you involved in this emotional goodbye video. Jack's had this in the works for about 6 months now. You know, it's probably going to be about 4 hours long. But look, you know, I'll be emotional as well. I'm not sure I'll be as cut up as Jack and Ellie, but, you know, I will be emotional to see Højbjerg go. You know, and one thing in fairness to him, he's first into the training ground, last out as well. Really shows that he does care about this football club. And can't say that too many other players have been like that.
He looked nice with the kids as well. Good ambassador, like, you know, always shook the kids, you know, hands, you know, just seems to be a nice guy. So just he will be sad. He will be missed. But we'll keep things moving. Thanks for the support as well, Ellie. Thanks for even tuning in, for saying hi. We really do appreciate you over this year and over this season. But we have more guests to go. Looks like we have Sam and then the Big T as the closer for the season wrap up. Let's go to Sam.
Let's bring him on. He pointed out earlier on for Tongan gets the one for Sonny's Golden Boot Award when Sonny done all the work. Great,
Hey, Sam.
great comment. You cracked me up. But Sam, how are you, sir?
Yeah, not bad, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Yeah, just got back from Italy with my
I
my
saw,
siblings.
dude.
Where were you?
Yeah, he was in Lake Como.
I just a
Oh,
couple days in Milan, and then I went to Como for a couple days as well, just for a
Jeez.
bit of R&R.
You see
you know
Conte
that Lake
Paratici
Como?
while you were there?
No, I did. I saw the stadium. I wanted to go in, but my sister
Yeah, it looks amazing.
was not too keen.
Do you know what? Lake Como, there's an Irish guy that was out there not so long ago called Liam Kerrigan playing for them. And I think Fabregas is a part ownership out there or something, isn't he? I've watched a documentary on Lake Como, but it's more the area around it is absolutely fascinating. I mean, that would be some place to retire as a footballer in and around Lake Como. So good spot to go and get some R&R, I would say.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, tell us about, well, we've been annoying people with having to talk about Timo Werner, and then also it's a bit of a season wrap-up. I've been starting people off on Timo Werner first. It's kind of like eating your vegetables. So is that all right with you? We start off with Timo Werner, then we wrap up the season?
Yeah, however you want to go.
Sure. Okay, Timo Werner. What do you think? Good move, bad move? Don't really care? All three have been given as answers.
I'm probably in the middle. Do I think that he's going to take the club forward? Definitely not. Do I think that he's a better backup than Brian Hill? Yes, I do. And even if he's not, he's getting more minutes than Brian Hill's ever got. So he's better. Like, you don't say availability is the best ability.
True.
Although obviously he's injured now, so that kind of kicks myself in the shins. I think that he's had moments this season. He's definitely been dangerous. I think what's frustrated me about him is that he seems a bit scared, whether that's in front of goal, but actually what my point more was like going against his fullback. Like a lot of the times we'll play the ball to him and you'll think, okay, Timo, take him on. You're like the fastest guy in the world, potentially even as quick as Van der Ven.
Yeah.
And then he just goes, back I go, I pass it sideways, or I try and give it to Doji and make a run like towards the byline, which I don't mind. Like it's obviously the system, but I don't know who it was. Someone said that he was a good dribbler. I'm not sure that is what he's good at. I think it's more similar to Johnson. A ball over the top is where he thrives, which for some reason we decided not to do pretty much every single game. Whether that's because the fullbacks are our preferred route to actually get forward, I don't know, but I'm not angry. I don't really get the whole like throwing the toys out the pram kind of thing. But am I happy? Not really.
Do you know what? You brought up a point there that I sort of agree with, because I've sort of made the point myself. I think the reason why we're not hitting them early balls to Werner and Johnson, don't get me wrong, I think especially towards the end of the season, a part of it is to do with the opposition tactics. They just realised that forward line is shit. So just sit back, wait to take the ball off them and go and counter-attack them. That's the way to beat them. But I think if we had someone in the number 6 with a passing range, someone like a James Ward-Prowse or something, you start hitting them runs a lot earlier. Well, and I've said this before with Bissouma. As much as I like Bissouma, I feel like, unless he goes and develops a passing range, he can't play in that number 6 because you almost have to do everything so intricate, play through the middle, try and play through the press. Whereas sometimes if you had that guy who could get on the ball, ping 40 yards over the top, and release Johnson and Werner in behind, you might actually see a lot more out of them. However, I still question, even if you do put them in behind, the end product, is it going to be there consistently enough, to really sort of help take Tottenham forward? I think with Werner, regardless whether you put him in behind early or not, I just think he's damaged goods at this point. I think he's lost all confidence. He's 28 years of age, and I struggle to see how he's going to get it back and be the player that he once was. I think this is what we're holding on to sometimes as Spurs fans, that he's the guy that everybody fell in love with when he was ripping it up at Leipzig the first time. That guy is long gone. You've seen over, we've had other players here at Tottenham over the past where people hang on to what they were rather than accept what they are now. And for me, I just still have my worries about Werner. Even if we did bring in that number 6 and put him in behind a lot more often, am I going to see a better player? I don't think so.
I think it's I've got a couple points from what you said. I think on the playing the ball in behind to them and seeing if they actually have the ability to finish. I mean, look at Darwin Núñez for Liverpool. He's a chaos merchant, right?
Yeah.
Misses chance after chance, and then will bang in like a 30-yard sort of chipped finesse. I think it's kind of just with the law of averages. You've got to just keep giving these players the chances. So if we're gonna sort of cut off our nose to spite our face, then we're never going to improve going forward. I think my second point, you were talking about like having players with a passing range. First of all, this is why I wanted Pierre to play quite a lot of games, because the one thing he does do that no one else does is play like a 50-yard pass across the pitch.
I'd agree.
But I mean, look at these teams like Sheffield United, Nottingham Forest. Like, they might have a couple players who can ping the ball, but I know. Obviously, I know for us, it's a case of we play two at the back, so there's space anywhere. But these players can ping the balls. Like, you're telling me that our signings can't play like decent 20-30 yard passes over the back line. I can't.
We've seen in years gone by, though, they haven't been able to, regardless whether it's this crop or the crop we've had in years gone by. Half of them haven't even been able to pass it 10 yards.
That's true. Our passing has always been sloppy, to say the least.
Well, I think we always had the mix of like technically gifted players with technically really poor players, right? All in the same team. And I think that's what we've struggled with, right? It's never been like a team full of really techie, really beautiful, on the ball, pleasing on the eye type of players. We've had always a very weird mix of the two. And then that's what it's led to is you'll see some wonderful hold up play between Sonny and Kane. And then you'll see Dyer and Davies pass it out of bounds between themselves, for 5 yards. And that's what,
that's it really. You've hit the nail on the head there. It was Kane. We had the ability, we had a player with the ability to literally just smash the ball, what looks like a hoop, and it lands at the feet of the most clinical like attacker in the world, and he just puts it away.
I think that's what we used to have, and now we don't have that anymore. It's actually those bailout type of passes where it's like no one is making any dangerous pass of any kind, and then someone just finally takes on the responsibility to dare to make it. And Kane was always that guy. And I'd agree with you this last season that Højbjerg was more often actually that guy as well, was less afraid than others to lose the ball or at least play more of those dangerous passes. And I'd say that Bissouma is a confusing one because Bissouma in games will do that, and then in other games he won't. He likes to play it more on the floor, kind of play it maybe a bit tighter between players, more 1-2s, that type of thing. But even Maddison as well. Like Maddison seems to enjoy playing it more on the floor, keeping it kind of, on the ground than he really does, try to go for those big looping switches of play like you're alluding to. So I'd agree that these players should be able to do it. Like I've seen them do it. Like Maddison, I see can do it. He just chooses not to. And similar with guys like Bissouma or even other players in the team, they seem they don't want to do it when they easily can.
I feel like with Maddison, he's picking up the positions that we had Kane in previously, and rather than play a quick switch, he'll do the classic little like TikTok moment where he plays like an outside the boot pass. Like that's him and Gio. That seems to be their go-to. They just look for those flashy moments. I'm not saying necessarily that is true, but that's what it looks like from the outside. These players don't want to do that long ball and maybe affect their passing accuracy, and instead they'll play a 10-yard side pass with the outside of the boot, and then the people go, "Whoa, look at that! He can play the ball with the outside of his boot."
Yeah. And you know what? That really annoys me. I actually think you're spot on there, because sometimes with Maddison, it's almost like get back to basics, start doing all of that correctly. And then when you're in the form of your life, that's when you start hitting it with the outside of your boot and it starts coming off, and you're actually doing it while affecting the game rather than what you're talking about, getting it for all the young lads to be amazed by it and start clipping it up on TikTok and everything else. I completely agree with you on that point. Spot on.
Not even that, though. I just had a conversation with Sebas the other day, Sam, and he and I, while we were having some beers, were talking about our frustration with Maddison, sort of. And we were saying it wasn't even just him, but what he is guilty of that certain players in this team are kind of guilty of. They'll actually do too much, where there will just be like a first-time pass available where you just see a guy wide open. All it requires is just a first-time switch of play, or just somebody just instead of doing a step over or, a no-look pass or an outside the foot, whatever you're talking about, just play the pass to the open guy first time and we're clean through and we'll be able to start a move. but guys like Madison will look to try to take it past their man and then play that pass when it's then already far too late. And I think that's been something that Spurs have been guilty of this season, where they could move it actually quicker than they already are, but they instead use, like, maybe take the wrong option, or they try to do something extra that's really actually unnecessary in the first place. And that actually comes down to sometimes just making it simpler, right? Just play the game a bit more simple and don't be the hero in every situation, right? Don't like make, this, don't take on 2-3 players, then play the through ball. How about just play the through ball instead of taking on the 2-3 players, that sort of thing.
I think like when you look at players like Modric, Messi, all these Barcelona legends of the past, when the ball's coming to them, they have a quick scan over their shoulder to see what's behind them. Whereas I feel like we're so concerned, maybe it's the adapting to the pressure style of play that we do playing out the back, that our players aren't quite comfortable with it, but we don't seem to know what's around us. So I can think of a few occasions, like I think against Liverpool, there was a couple, even against Sheffield, there was a few where it's like, we've got an overlap on one side, and rather than play it that way quickly, it's take another few touches and then play it to the side where we've got one attacker versus two defenders and the other side's completely free. Whereas every other team this season has known, if you're on one side, Spurs are going to be on that side and the other side's going to be completely open.
Yeah. Do you know what? Not only that, I think you're absolutely spot on that, them great players that you talk about there, they always had their head on a swivel before the ball arrived to them. They already know what they were going to do with it. But also, they had the drive. They wanted to be the game changer. So when they did get the ball, they are automatically running at teams, trying things, trying to beat players, take players out of the game. I don't see that in our forward player. I don't see anyone that really wants to do it unless you put Sonny out on the left. And when he was out there towards the end of the season, Son was doing it, getting at players, taking them on, and that's where I feel like we lack sometimes. Sometimes people are just like, oh, it's not our day, just take the easy option, pass it on sideways. I don't want to be the one to lose the ball. Whereas in fact, I'd actually stand up and commend you if you're trying things. And I think that's what we miss. It's that guy that says, hang on here, no one else wants to do it, no problem, I'll go and do it. And I don't think we have that in that forward line. And I think that's something we really need to buy. We really need to bring in. Someone ain't just going to develop that overnight.
I think there is a problem, though. Like, I know you're saying that you would applaud that. I'd also applaud that. I'm sure Jack would applaud that. But a lot of our fan base will clip one bad Højbjerg pass, for example. And like, this is why he needs to go. He's so bad. Like, he's so crap. Like, and whereas he's done maybe 40 other passes where he's got us onto the attack, or played a couple passes that have opened a chance to attack. So I'm not saying that the players should obviously be listening to the outside noise, but when half the stadium's groaning every time you misplace a pass, I'm sure that will play on your mind.
No, 100%. I fully agree with it, but that's where strong mentality comes in. That's where a player continues to go against that and continues to do it. Look, half of our fan base, in fact, 90% of our fan base wanted to sell Harry Kane. So I don't really, when they talk to me about forward players or clip forward players, I don't really listen because, they were on the wrong side of history when it came to that. But, players should not be afraid of that. They shouldn't be afraid of it at the end of the day. They accept that they're going to be playing in these 60,000 seat arenas. They expect that they know the whole public eye is going to be on them. And I think the great players, thrive off that mentality and, forget about some of the outside noise and continue to do what they believe in.
Definitely. I mean, look, mentality is obviously a big thing. Like, I'll play it into what I know what Jack wants to talk about, which is the Emerson Royale mentality. The guy, there's so many clips of him playing no-look passes, like out for a goal kick, and yet he'll still do it in every game because he knows that he's got the ability. Exactly. Like, he wants to do it, and although I wouldn't want to see Royale go, I think it's mainly because he does have that right mentality. Like, I think I've said it before on the stream before. The guy spent like 800 grand of his own money to try and become a better player. Like, you can't fault that. And people want to say, "Oh, he's shit. We'll never win anything with Emerson in the team." But you have to have mentality players, So I would probably keep him, but I do feel like he's one of these players that supposedly we could get a bit of money for. So
do you think he could be
that's the
pushing for the
case.
move? We
Well, are
haven't even
we-
considered that. Maybe he's pushing for the move, Emerson. Like he just wants to play more.
I don't know though. Like, maybe definitely, I'm sure there's a mentality of like I want to play, but he clearly has like good roots here. He's
That's
obviously
fair.
good, very good friends with Richarlison. I'm sure it's probably like he's probably thinking, I would like to play more, but now this season there's going to be a lot more games, or in Europe as well. Like he's going to get a lot of minutes, I think, this if he does stay this season. But I think I've got a controversial like point if we were to sell Emerson. I don't think it's controversial, but I think that the fan base might think it's controversial. I'd be looking to bring back Walker Peters. I think he ticks a lot of boxes for homegrown, club grown, or club trained, whatever it is. But also he's got the versatility to play right and left, and he's comfortable. I think that he fell into the category of a lot of these players that we have, where we don't really push them enough to actually get the best out of them. And now I know it's the Championship, but he was a solid player the season before for Southampton when they were in the Prem, and he's been a bit of a standout for them this season in the Championship. And everyone wants to sign these young players from the Championship, so why wouldn't you take a punt on someone who is a Spurs fan, knows the club? And I think he would have the mentality to be like, okay, I mean, if I'm going to come back here and I want to fight for my place and I want to do it different this time around.
Look, it's definitely a controversial one there with Kyle Walker-Peters. Look, I get what you're saying about him being a fan of the club and stuff like that, but we've had that with Harry Winks. Never really, truly, came on the pitch, never done the goods for us. Same with who's there? Another one, Ollie Skip at the minute. Great Tottenham fan and everything else, but sometimes they can be a Tottenham fan all they want, but sometimes they're just not good enough. It's like me. I'm a huge Tottenham fan. I'd argue better than some of these guys that claim to be Tottenham fans as players. But at the end of the day, I'm never going to play for Tottenham because I'm 5 stone overweight and stuff like that. So what I'm trying to say is that just being a Tottenham fan doesn't necessarily mean it's for the better of the club or you're going to get something out of them. Also, when it comes to Kyle Walker-Peters, he couldn't defend when he got his opportunity at Tottenham. And then when he went to Southampton, he was also exposed defensively as well for large periods. He looks better down in the Championship, but your Premier League's a different animal. You're playing against different quality forward players, and they'll expose you like that. And for me, he's already had his opportunity, and he didn't take it, unfortunately. I think going forward, I think he'd help a lot. Don't get me wrong. I just worry about him defensively. And the last thing before we let you go, my man, there was something else you said about, maybe selling Emerson because he's one of the players we can get a fee for. I'm just worried we're falling into this cycle yet again. Okay, we can get a fee for him, but he is a good backup for Pedro Porro in terms of defensively. He's not going to cost you. Okay, yeah, there's an argument, keep other players because they're harder to get rid of. But then we're just going to run into the same problems next season when we have to rely on them. The reality is they're not good enough. They have to go, and we should be keeping the players that other clubs are interested in, because that shows that, there's a player in there. The players that aren't, that there is no interest in, for one way or another, we have to get them gone. We're never going to create a squad if we go, okay, he adds value, but let's sell him because we can't get rid of this guy. It sets out a bad precedent to other players coming into this football club that you can take the piss and sit here for 5-6 years on a large contract. We have to stamp that out of Tottenham. I get what people are saying when they say, look, we have to try and take what value we can because of the way the European markets are and, stuff like that. I get it. But if we want to build a squad, at some point, we just have to go, look, whether we can get rid of you or not. Oh, we can't? No problem. You're a free agent. Goodbye. That's exactly what we need to do with some of these guys, rather than just go, well, let's sell an Emerson or let's sell a Richie because we can get value for them. For me, they're the guys you should be keeping around the squad players. And then next summer, once we've got rid of all the other draws, then you look at them. That's the way I would be with it, Sam. I'll let you retort on that, my man, and then we'll call it an evening.
No, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I don't want to get sucked into selling these players just because we can. But we have been guilty, probably more often than not in the past, of keeping players past their sell-by date. Like, look at Ericsson, look at Dele Alli. I mean, look, don't get me wrong, like, Dele Alli's my guy. I basically grew up with him in the club. so obviously these players are part of my sort of like formative years of watching Spurs, but we've let a lot of these players stay for too long.
Yeah.
When we could have upgraded. Look, it would have been tough to
So
upgrade
to your
Emerson,
point then,
let's
should
be
Emerson
honest.
be sold before Ben Davies?
But I think Ben Davies is another one of these kind of like mentality monsters, a more subdued one, in the sense that like I don't think he's happy to sit on the bench, but he knows his place. He knows and shows every time he's needed. He comes in and gives his all. Whether his all is good enough for us, that's a different question. But I think that if you're tying it back to my original point of we could get money for Emerson, how much is someone going to pay for Ben Davies? 5 million?
But you also said that, we can't, like some of the players that we grew up with and whatever else, we've let them here past their sell by date. Davies falls into that category. And if we're going by that, he should be well out the door before we should even think about being selling Emerson. And that's where I'm saying I think we should keep Emerson for one more year and look at that next summer and get rid of Ben Davies, because keeping Ben Davies around next season, I'd argue he was more costly than what Emerson was this season across the back line. And for me, like, it's just like we got to get, like, if we want to improve the squad, someone like Davies has to be shipped on to bring rejuvenated competition in at left back for someone like Destiny Udogie. And then next summer is when you look at someone like Emerson. Like we see here about Ben Davies being a mentality monster. He hasn't invested £800,000 like Emerson has to be a better player. Nowhere near it. He's just accepted his fate. His whole Tottenham career. Okay, I accept that I'm going to sit here and play some games here and there. That's not a mentality monster. He's had what 10, 12 years at Tottenham to invest the money that Emerson has into his football, and he hasn't.
But I don't know if necessarily. I obviously understand your point, but I don't know if necessarily spending the money makes Emerson the mentality monster. I think it's more like this. I feel like there was a sliding doors moment for Emerson where he could have gone one route like Davinson Sanchez, getting booed by the club or getting ironically cheered when he subbed off or subbed on. He could have crumbled under that, and I think that's what makes him the mentality monster. Whereas with Davies, I think that he could have probably gone to another club, a sort of mid-table Premier League team, and been a solid player for them. Like kind of like a, I don't know, for lack of players at the top of my head, like a Craig Dawson or something. A player who just gets stuck in. I think if we'd have sold Davies maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I would have, or if we were looking to sell him, I would have been on the same sort of point that I am now with Emerson. Look, at the end of the day, I don't really want to sell Emerson.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at it more like I have been a fan of the club for 15 years. I'm 25. I've seen a lot of crap, and I've seen us buy a lot of crap when we were in these pivotal positions. Like, I'll never forget signing Ryan Nielsen and Louis Saha when we were like in the Champions League. It's like, what are we doing?
Tevez and someone else, Tevez and Cahill.
It's Tevez.
Cahill, and then Cahill's gone to Chelsea and won like everything.
Yeah, Tevez went to United.
So I'm just looking at it more like I feel like I know my club, and we're going to need to raise funds in order for them to seriously invest. Look, I'd be more than happy to see them actually change their ways, but to look at the past trends and to think they will, I think is a sort of a recipe to be disappointed.
Well, look, I know I'm going to be disappointed, because I won't change my expectation in that regard. That I want them to start doing things a little bit differently, and I think, and until we do, we won't really see the full benefits. But Sam, I have to say, an absolute great calling, my man. I really enjoyed this. We got to do this on a longer format someday. The good back and forth. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoy your calls, my man. Thank you again for getting yourself on this season and putting yourself out there, my man.
No worries, guys. Thanks for having me. I've always wanted to do it, so I really appreciate the honor of coming on the show.
Thanks for even calling it an honor. That's very nice of you, Sam. That's probably the nicest someone has called it that. But I hope to see you plenty more for this summer. I think Dave does mean that. We'd love to have you on some panel shows, that sort of thing, if you are around. And yeah, just look forward to having plenty more conversations with you. And I'm glad that you got to put in that controversial opinion towards the end there, because we got some good discussion out of it. We got some good discussion.
I'll stand on it, and I'll stand on that. I love Højbjerg, and that over the last few seasons, maybe excluding last season, he was probably our third most important player behind Son and Kane.
Oh, looks like I need a third person for my farewell video. So I'll get in touch. We'll get in touch, Sam.
Really
nice
enjoyed
one,
that. Yeah, thank you very much, Sam. Really appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good rest of your evening.
We'll be in contact. We'll get you on a longer format. We can have more back and forth, brother. Weirdly enough, we're actually coming from the same point of view.
I felt like you guys were agreeing with each other, just barely, or like just slightly disagreeing. It was one of those.
I think we were both playing like the devil's advocate because we could both see each other's points.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with everything you were saying, but I also wanted to like say other things that maybe weren't getting said, you know?
It was sort of like a small split at the end there. I liked it. It was good.
No, 100%. Look, that's what this is all about, you know? So I really appreciate that, Sam, and we'll be in contact, my man. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you, guys. Come on, you Spurs.
Great calls always. Thanks, Sam.
I'm gonna have to nickname him Lake Como now. I can't get that out of my head. Great R&R out there. Honestly, I watched a documentary on Lake Como Football Club there not so long ago. They got some Fabregas and there's a couple of other investors and stuff like that. Very interesting stuff anyway. But we got this with Paul Connor, member for 10 months. Thanks for having me on, guys. Great show. My disappointment of the season was Maddison. So much promise, but after the injury, it cannot take half a season to get back. Come on, you Spurs. Next season is going to be good. Look, 100% I agree with you. I think half a season for anybody, it is too long to get back. Look, when we signed Maddison, I said no doubt there's a player in there, but I've concerns over the temperament long term. Does he have the right temperament to produce it long term? And at the time, I did say I would rather Pedro Gonçalves. Don't get me wrong. I think Maddison's a fine player. I just think he gets carried away sometimes with the hype rather than actually maybe stay a bit more level-headed and stuff like that, or realize he could be so much better than what he's actually producing, with that Paul Connor. But look, Maddison, I don't know why. I think he's going to come back next season with a point to prove, and hopefully that's to our benefit, man.
Yeah, I think that's where it's been kind of misconstrued or something at times, where Dave and I definitely have had our criticism of Maddison, but I don't think it's in any way that we are writing him off or anything like that. I think we're just sort of pointing out that he just kind of dramatically fell below his original standards that he had set in the beginning of this season. And I think we also wanted to point out that it felt like the number 10 position in Ange's system is not exactly like the most complex compared to some of the others. Like, you are kind of being asked to do what most other number 10s are being asked to do in other systems. In fact, probably may even made a bit easier with how much service that you do get and how many people that you have around you to actually play passes off of and whatnot. And we saw that he made a very, very good work of it in the first 10 games, had that tough injury, had time to come back from the injury, settle back in, just didn't really do it. And it just led us kind of scratching our heads. But I think he will get back to his best self, like Dave was saying there. And I'm glad that you got to tell us your big disappointment of the season, Paul. I'm sorry that we forgot to ask you. Thank you, sir.
Big up, Paul, my man. Really appreciate the support, brother. Lappers, good to see you, man. Hopefully you're keeping well. Says as crap as Ten Hag United have been, he's won 2 trophies in 2 years, which is more than Spurs have won in 25 years under Levy. Shocking. Look, hard to disagree, especially with where United's been. Sometimes I feel like, when you have that winning culture at your football club, it sort of carries you over the line sometimes, especially maybe during shit periods. Sometimes if you just get to a final because the club has been there and they know how to handle the occasion, sometimes I just feel like that sticks with you at Tottenham Hotspur. This is something that we need to build going forward, Lappers. It's that winning sort of culture, that winning mentality, and hopefully we can get there at some point, Lappers, before I die. That'll be absolutely brilliant. And then we've got Just a Harmless Potato, member for 5 months. Big up Dave and Jack, or Jack and Dave, and the awesome community you guys build up. Look, really appreciate that, my man, but I'm going to change the you to we, because it's not just me, yourself, and Jack. It's all you guys in the chat as well. It doesn't go unnoticed where you see things getting out of hand, you try and put a stop to it and stuff like that. So it's not just us, it's all of us. So thank you very much on that, my man.
And lots of funny people here, lots of really, really enjoyable, nice, friendly people in this community. It's not just Dave and I. I think there are actually much cleverer people than even Dave and I in this community. We're glad that people can even, have good conversation, good debate, that sort of thing. We just all get along. It's good vibes always over here. I feel like even when things are quite toxic, I think we do a pretty good job of navigating through it and having still good, productive conversations out of it. Big up to Just a Harmless Potato. I'd say next to Berbatov's Halftime Smoke, easily one of the best usernames in the whole community as well. Easily one of the best ones. Big up.
Big up, Just a Harmless Spud. Really appreciate the support, my man. But look, that does bring us down to the closer, the last guest of the evening, Mr. Wimbledon, Mr. US Open. Is he there? Big T. Oh, is that changing hair color? No,
Yeah,
maybe
Tyler.
Maybe it's just the sun on it.
It's just the
I was
sun.
gonna say, I thought you got the Richie.
Yeah, no.
Tanning up,
Although
though, man.
I was born blonde, but my hair got darker over time. I don't know why, but it did. Even though I'm out in the sun all the time.
Yeah, same thing happened to my dad, actually. I'm wondering if it will happen to me. Guess not. I'm still waiting to not be blonde anymore. Tyler, though, today it's Timo Day, but it's also season wrap up. Been forcing people to talk about Timo first. Is it all right that I do that?
Yeah, whatever you guys
Timo,
would like.
tell me.
Yeah,
Good move, bad move. Where do you stand?
Yeah, I don't hate Timo, obviously, and there was points in the season when we got him in January. I was actually thinking he was, doing better for us than Johnson was. But they are fairly similar players, and that kind of concerns me. I don't like that we're going after that, that same type of winger that can't finish. Both of them have been terrible in front of goal. But to give credit to Johnson, his numbers are pretty good. And even Werner, when he came in, I mean, I think it's only like 2 or 3 assists, but he also created a couple other goals that weren't given as assists that were either own goals or something with those crosses he put across the face. But look, I mean, I was one of the guys that probably didn't want us to, trigger the release clause, but at least it is a loan, but it is a big contract that we're taking up. I would obviously like us to go for, more quality attackers, but with guys like Hill most likely leaving, Solomon probably leaving, even though I think I'd rather Solomon stay than keep Werner. We do have to have some squad depth. Personally, I probably would rather rotate youngsters in instead because I don't think Werner will have a future here, but it's not the end of the world. It's nothing to go crazy about.
Let me ask you this, Tyler. So just say Timo hears all of the noise about him, all the things that he's not going to do next season. Is there any world we live in where you think he'll use all that as motivation and come back and make people like me eat my words?
Hopefully, but with what we've seen with him is that does the opposite effect of him. And so I think we all have to be a little bit more positive right now because he is going to be here next season, and we need to be hyping him up because you see what happens once you see his weakness is his mentality, and he seems to crumble a lot, especially in key situations in front of the goal. He skies plenty of easy chances, so his composure's not there, his mentality's not there. So we need to be a little bit nicer, hype him up. Everyone go into his Instagram comments, send him a DM, hype him up. He's going to be here next season, whether you guys like it or not. So
I feel like
let's hype him up.
I feel like he should hire me. I'd help him improve, in terms of the mentality and the finishing and stuff like that. I definitely think he needs to hire me. But look, a bit of reverse psychology there from Tyler. Jack knows I love reverse psychology. Maybe if we big him up, maybe he might go and score the goals. But do you also believe Fabrizio Romano said that, look, Werner's only the first one in the door. We're still going to bring in another winger and another striker.
Yeah, I mean, if we do bring in another winger and a striker, that obviously is going to make us, realize the signings more of just, depth. Because obviously, if he's coming in and just thinking about, starting him quite a few games this season, then we definitely got some problems. But I think it's just a depth option, another super sub type player. That's why I thought Johnson was really good this season. Whenever he was coming off the bench, I thought he was a really good super sub. So again, I wouldn't even like Johnson starting this going into this season either. I think he's a much better player off the bench. So
Speaking
I'm
of-
hoping we did. Yeah.
Sorry,
go.
Tyler, finish your point.
No, I was just saying I was hoping we'd bring in 2 more wingers. I think we'd need 2 starters, honestly.
I was going to say, speaking of Johnson, we hadn't got to ask this question because Dave and I put out that player ratings and that, keep, loan, or sell. Did you happen to catch that, Tyler? Did you disagree with maybe because you've watched us a lot this season? It's probably no secret that Dave or I have been definitely very critical of people like Madison, people like Johnson. What do you make of Johnson's season? You're the last guest. Might as well do a slightly different question. Yeah. Do you feel like Dave and I, just be honest with us, were we too harsh? Maybe, I don't know. What do you make of just his season? Like, what's your take on it? Don't even need to compare yours to ours. Just what's your opinion on his season?
Yeah, no, I mean, you look at the numbers and you would think, holy crap, he's had an incredible first season if you only cared about numbers. But overall, I mean, there's just so many games where he just wasn't clinical at all. The crosses were terrible. The finishing was terrible. His energy, especially early on in the season, which is kind of surprising because I think as the season went on, his fitness actually got much better. But especially earlier on in the season, the guy couldn't play 10 minutes without looking like, me and Dave were out there on the field. But as a first season, you can't be too upset. But personally, I'd like to end this be on the bench, and so I would like us to bring in some new wingers. He definitely doesn't have the quality to be starting in a team that's wanting to challenge it for trophies for the title. It's just it's not sustainable having players like Werner and Johnson getting all these minutes.
And this is where my concern comes in with the forward line. I think this season what we've seen is we've got more players in the forward line that actually need stuff created for them rather than them being able to actually create for others. And I mean like Werner, Johnson, Richarlison to a degree. Richarlison is a guy that needs chances created for him. And I think this is where we need to look maybe on the next couple of signings that come in that forward line is guys that can actually create chances for others and also create their own chances in that regard. Because I think we get a lot bogged down in players sort of, stats in terms of what's his goals and his assist output, which I get to a large degree. That's important. But what we don't look at enough is how they are in the build-up play, how they are creating, consistent chances for other people. I think that gets overlooked. And that's where I think it gets overlooked when people bring up Brennan Johnson's stats. I think that's where it gets overlooked when people make the case for someone like Timo Werner. What you sort of miss out is how many other opportunities they've had this season to be able to bag more goals or create for other people that they've spurned. And that, for me, is where we need to change tact in the signings that we're making in the forward line. We really need to bring in clinical players that are quality from here on out. No more average Joes. Look, Werner, if it's the case, it's in the door, it's done now. But after that, now it's got to be quality. Can't just be bringing in average Joes.
Yeah, we need more guys that aren't afraid to take their man on and dribble by them, dribble past a couple players, put a ball in the box, or take a shot themselves. I'd really like that. I like that kid from PSV, Bakayoko. I know he doesn't have the most amazing quality, but dribbling wise, speed, he doesn't care who's in front of him. He's going to attack them. I'd love a winger like that. We need, because it's not like, because Werner and Johnson both, their finishing is lacking, right? But it's not even that. They won't even take their men on. True. It just confuses me if that's the type of winger we're going after. It just doesn't make any sense to me. They're more comfortable when they, going down the wing with pace, stop and pass back. That's their favorite, options. I don't get why we're going after wingers like that. It's very.
It's a great signature move. What do you mean, Tyler? It's a great signature move. So it sounds like you're really like us, where you feel like the positions that need strengthening are in the forward line. Any other positions quickly that you want to see strengthened?
Yeah. I said last time, I think I was on to the defensive midfielder, the 6 is my most important position I think we need to bring in. But, the more and more I think about it, it is the wingers, because we just have no quality on the wing. We really don't. I mean, Son's obviously still an incredible player, but he's getting up there in age. We need to bring in some players.
Definitely
I mean,
agree.
we have nothing there right now, and I'm a Brian Hill lover. I know you guys loved him as well, but obviously it hasn't worked out. Sadly, I think we messed that up way early on though, and now it's kind of he's just not he just isn't used to this. Isn't used to the Premier League at all. We should have given him those loans to the Championship instead of where he was comfortable in Spain. So now at this point, you got to just sell him to Spain. Hopefully, we get some decent money back from. Probably doubt it, honestly, because they know we want to get rid of him. I'm sure we can't get too much, but hopefully we do.
Where we messed it up was when he was getting the momentum under Conte and we fucked them out and brought in Danjuma. That's where we messed it. And you'll never get that. You'll never get the player back on that momentum. For me now, it's damaged goods you got to sell.
Yeah, I mean, he was linking up with Kane. It was the Palace game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was linking up with Kane. He looked to be a really
came on the
promising
Champions League
player.
on a penalty, didn't he? You know, he was starting to produce a little bit, you know, and then we stunted it. So
it also didn't make sense because Kulusevski, remember, had a huge injury that season. He was basically out for the entirety of the campaign, or like at least half of it, and we needed somebody to fill in, basically anybody. And Hill was the only person that actually was doing it to some level, or at least to some degree. But we just didn't give him more opportunities to do that. I think then later under Ange, he missed his opportunity to get into the team. So it was a bit of both, him missing opportunities as well as us not giving him opportunities. And with that being said, you know, he's just got to go. Just not working out for both parties. Tyler, though, we don't want to end things off with you rudely. Player of the season, flop of the season, surprise of the season.
Player of the season. Player of the season's hard for me because I love both Romero and Van de Ven so much, but it's hard for me to pick a center back when we did concede so many goals. I know it was a lot of set pieces and stuff, but they're still at fault for moments like that.
That's fair.
But
good logic.
I think it does have to be either Van de Ven or Romero. Either one you pick.
I'm going to make you pick one though.
Yeah, even though I do like Romero a little bit better, I think he's all the way Tottenham. I think he loves this club so much. I absolutely love the guy, but the Van de Ven's pace and him stopping any bit of counterattacks that we had given up, I think it's got to be, you got to give it to Van de Ven. And again, with the Romero, that red card against Chelsea, it wasn't a red card, but that did flip the season. So I guess you kind of have to blame him a little bit for that, but I don't think it was a red card as well as I think you believe that as well, right, Dave?
Look, I was proven right. You know, everyone got sucked into Gary Neville trying to justify it, Jamie Carragher trying to justify it. I went completely against the grain, and then we've seen later on in the season, it's happened in our games and other games, hasn't been given. It's been a different standard applied altogether without any explanation for it. And I think many people coming out the back end of the season will now agree with us, our original point on that one, Tyler. And it's a shame because I think, regardless whether it is a red card or not, it puts a stain on his season. So thank Michael Oliver for that. Another thing I blame that fucker for. I absolutely hate him. What was the other questions we have for Tyler, Jack? Flop of the season?
Flop of the season, surprise of the season.
Just want to give a shout out to Sarr as well. I think he was the best midfielder this season, most consistent as well. So I saw a couple of people had given him player of the season. I don't think he was good enough for that, but I think he was the most consistent midfielder. So big up to him. But flop of the season, I think maybe it was Michael who had said Basuma, a couple others maybe. I think he'd have to be this. Well, it wasn't even going into the season. He would have been flop of the season, but just after the 10 games. He was the best CDM in the world for those 10 games down there. I was absolutely loving him. All of a sudden, that was it the red against their second yellow for diving, which was absolute BS.
Yeah.
And I don't think I saw a single player get 2 yellows for diving all season other than Basuma, which is crazy because Sterling flopped in our box about 15 times when we played Chelsea that first game. It's just crazy to me. But after that, he just never brought it back. I know people like to use that malaria excuse. I'm sorry, I'm not taking that because he was very poor even before he went to the Africa Cup of Nations. So I'm not taking that malaria excuse, even though that does suck that he got it. sorry to him for getting
Love it,
that.
T.
And then
I'd argue VAR was flop of the season, to be brutally honest, or Pogmal, someone like that.
It's fair.
Maybe. Well, Tyler, you are the last guest of this fan show. You are the closer tonight. Any final words for the season? Any final words before we kiss goodbye this season and all these therapy sessions that we've been doing?
I just want to say thank you so much for having me on all season long. Had a really good enjoyment from it. Wasn't the greatest
Thank you,
season,
man.
but it certainly wasn't a bad season at all. And just first season, you can't complain really about getting top 5. Obviously, I don't know how we could have bottled top 4. It was literally given to us, but we somehow did manage to do it still, sadly. But I think Europa League is going to be better for us, even though obviously I'd rather be watching Champions League. So I'm really excited for the season, excited to see all the young players come in, and excited to see what we bring in during the summer. I think we are going to bring in some quality players. Probably not all the quality we're hoping for. I'm sure we'll be a little bit disappointed, but I'm still going to have some positivity going into the season, and I'm hoping we can really push for either a trophy in one of the cups or the Europa League, or hoping to challenge a little bit for the title. I don't think it's possible next season to be seriously challenging for it, but I think if we don't get top 4 next season, I think a lot of us will be disappointed.
Just on terms of title talk, this is an aimed at you, because I know a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh, Dave, stop being deluded." For me, the joy of being a fan is dreaming that I'm going to win. So no one's going to take that away from me
100%.
heading into the start of the season. I'll deal with realism come out the end of the season. So anyone that thinks they're going to affect me by calling me, I think you're not, because no matter, you've called it for me the last 3 seasons, and I still go into next season believing. So you'll never take that away from me. And like I said, I'll be realistic come the end of the season. But look, I want to say to you, Tyler, thank you very much, my man.
Thank you, Tyler.
I'm a really good friend to myself and Jack over the last couple of seasons and that. And thank you very much for all your contributions on the fan show and that. Me and Jack are big fans of you. So thank you for your time and your support, brother.
Appreciate
Thank you, Big
guys.
T. Thank you for the season, man. Thanks for your support. Thanks for being one of the many members that I think make it a good community, make it a very friendly one at that as well. Thanks for being a good part of it.
One last, come on, you Spurs!
Nice, Tyler. Ends off in style. Well done, man.
Yeah, I love that. Love
Model.
that. Pure passion. Big
Pure
up,
model.
Big T.
Love that.
Best of
Big
luck
up,
with the
T.
tennis over the summer. Keep me updated.
Have a good summer, man.
Thank you, lad.
See you, lad. Have a good one. Have a good one. So, guys, that's Big T. Absolute great lad. Really nice lad. Keen on the tennis as well. You might see him in a few Open Championships in a few years to come. But look, that brings the end of it to the end of the season fan show for myself and Jack. I want to say a massive thank you to everybody who's came on today, sharing your opinions. I want to say a massive thank you to everybody for your support. We've got Dan Coys, MV Joker, Robert Palmer, Jerome, Martin Knightsbridge, Spurs GCTV, Sebas Wolf, THFC Till I Die, Ellie, Paul Connor, Just a Harmless Potato. Honestly, guys, your support is absolutely incredible. And let's keep this partnership going between all of us, this friendship going between all of us, heading into the summer and, of course, into next season. There's a lot more to come from your boys. But look, really enjoyed it. Werner on the dance floor.
Werner on the dance floor. Last and final thing from me.
Yes.
TIFO watch along Europa Conference League is tomorrow. If you are watching the Conference League, it's one of those I'm actually really looking forward to TIFO for this one, because I'll be honest, no one's going to be at a pub in the United States for a Conference League game unless you're a complete nerd like myself, and I'm not sure if pubs like that even exist for Conference League final watch-alongs. I think it's just one of those games that everybody is just going to, I think a lot of people are going to sit down and watch, but more like just to sit down and watch, while you're cooking, while you're cleaning, maybe just having a beer, kind of finishing off the day sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's an excellent opportunity to join us, make the vibes even better, kick up, have a nice, meal, whatever it might be that you're enjoying your football with. There's only so many games left. It's this and then the Champions League and then a bit of a break. And then we have the Euros, which we're all very excited for. But yeah, this is one of the last 2 watch-alongs before the Euros and on TIFO. So please, everybody, join us there. We'd love to see you all there. The code is FlatCap. Please use that. The code is FlatCap. I'll put it into the chat. It is all one word. And would love to see you all there for it. Timo Werner video came out today. If you haven't already noticed that, we had a pre-record on our quick thoughts on it. It was really more just kind of a welcoming him. I can't say that word today. Welcoming him back to Spurs. And yeah, Dave, unless I'm missing anything, that will be about it.
Look, guys, just make sure you come over with us at Tifo tomorrow for the Europa Conference League watch along. Why wouldn't you? I mean, you're only going to be sitting there watching it on your own anyway, so why not watch it with myself and Jack and have some good interaction, some good back and forth? That's what we want from you guys. In fact, let's set out an itinerary. So you need to have your dinner ready and squared off for 7:30, ready in front of the couch to watch myself and Jack, and then we go into the final, and then around 9:30, maybe 9 o'clock if you're daring, you can take the beer out of the fridge and wash down your dinner. So that's the itinerary for tomorrow. Make sure you're over there at Tifo half an hour before kickoff, and we'll see you then. In the meantime, get on the Werner video, share your thoughts with us, whether you agree, whether you don't. You didn't hear our thoughts wholeheartedly on the Werner video, so that's up there for you to go and have a listen to. Thank you very much, everybody. I will bow to your greatness, and we'll see you all back here tomorrow with plenty more content. And don't forget, Debate Show Thursday with Sean and We Are Tottenham TV. As always, come on, you mighty
Spurs. Come on, you Spurs.
In the big Ange, I still trust, and I think Jack still trusts.
For sure.
And as always, we never stop. Regardless whether I agree with the sign or not, Werner on the dance floor.
Not stopping Dave. Timo ain't stopping Dave. Big up, everybody. See ya. Thank you for the great season. Have a great summer. We'll see you plenty more throughout this summer, though. See you tomorrow.
Timo
Bye,
time.
everybody.